Hello friends, this is your friend back with a new fanfic, What If Naruto Build Harem with Pakura, Kyuubi, and Mei. If you like this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's start. Chapter 1, Genesis. It was a seemingly regular night in Konohagakure, ninjas patrolling, people drinking in bars and people having fun. In the forest, a 6-year-old boy can be seen running from a crowd. In the crowd were shinobi and civilians alike. "Goddamn, not again," thought our blonde protagonist as he ran from a crowd. "Why can't you guys see that I'm not Kyuubi?" yelled Naruto as he panted slightly, in hopes to ease the crowd. "Quiet," one shinobi spoke, gritting his teeth. "Why can't you see all the people you've killed 6 years ago in that attack?" Naruto may he a lot of things, but stupid was not one of them. He wasn't an idiot, even a blind person can see it. People calling him a demon, the glares, the segregation, the time he spent reading the books he stole from the library on his idol Yondaime Hokage and all the other books. He simply put 2 and 2 together and got his answer. He had the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. He didn't know what this entailed or if he could even communicate with it. Why him though? Why would his idol seal the Kyuubi inside him? He must have had a reason. The Yondaime wasn't the kind of man that would ask another family to sacrifice their child. So he came to a conclusion that he was the Yondaime's child, that he sealed the Kyuubi inside his own child. Crazy, right? Of course it was a far-fetched theory and sounded a bit crazy, but it made sense if his logic didn't fail him. Jinchuriki are usually somewhat connected to big village figures, like the Yondaime Hokage for example. But there were still holes in his theory. Why didn't anyone see the Kyuubi coming? Everything he's seen makes it seem as if it was summoned or something. Surely Konoha ninjas and scouts would have seen the gigantic 9-tailed beast. Whose roars can level mountains, and tails can cause tsunamis coming, so that begs the question, where did the Kyuubi come from? Was his mother attacked during childbirth? Did the Kyuubi get extracted from her during this? He learnt that there were past Kyuubi Jinchuriki, and from what he's read during childbirth female Jinchuriki's seals weaken, so he came to a conclusion. His mother was a Jinchuriki. He couldn't find any information on Kyuubi's Jinchuriki other than Mito Uzumaki, Hashirama Senju's wife. Anyways, all of this wouldn't matter if he's dead, so back to the problem at hand. He kept running until he reached the Hokage monument. Usually, this would be his safe haven. But right now it was all but that. He was cornered. "Please just stop, I'm not the Kyuubi," pleaded Naruto. Stop. Did you stop?" When the cries of our shinobi were heard all throughout the night as you rampaged through our village. "The fourth sacrificed himself to end you, and you still have the audacity to appear before us and mock us as a child. No worries though. Tonight we end what Yondaime started," finished the shinobi as he started going through hand signs and shot a fireball at him. Naruto tried to dodge it, but his body was too weak and tried. It hurt. Everything hurt. He felt his body heat up, agonizing heat. As he fell off the monument, his mind started going blank. Is this it? Is this how I'm going to die? I never got to know my parents. I wish I tried out that new ramen flavor. I'm sorry Nei-chan, and old man Kyuki, I guess this is it. Were his last thoughts as the floor below got closer until eventually all I saw was white. The white started to recede and was replaced with a yellow hue. He found myself in a hallway with tubes running down to a door. Is this heaven? Are those the infamous heaven's gates? Thought the young boy as he walked towards the door. When he walked in, he was met with a giant gate with a kanji for seal on it. He heard weeping, the sounds of a woman crying. Eerie, he thought as he neared the gate. As he neared, he noticed the form of a red-haired female. She had crimson eyes and a burgundy kimono. 9 reddish-orange tails were spread throughout the floor. Wait, what? Tails. Anyways, in all she was beautiful, ever prettier than that one girl he saved with those weird purple eyes. Hi, are you the angel that's here to pick me up? I thought heaven would be more white," he said. Her eyes snapped open as tears ran down her face. "Naruto, thank God you're alive," she choked out. "Wait, what? Alive? What do you mean? I thought I died," he said. "No silly, you're not dead. I brute forced my way through this seal and I used my chakra to try and heal you, to try and save you. But if I'm not dead, then where am I? Last I remember I was falling to my certain death. You're in your mindscape." "Mindscape? What's a mindscape? Are you the Kyuubi no Kitsune?" "Yes, I am. So my theory is right. the Yondaime sealed the Kyuubi in me, making me your Jinchuriki. Who would have thought that the almighty Kyuubi no Kitsune was a pretty woman, he mused at himself. She smiled. She'd been watching him all throughout the years, unable to contact him, so she knew he was smarter than any typical 6-year-old. Throughout the years she kept on trying to contact him but to no avail. After his incident, he went through enough mental distress causing her to finally break through the seal. So if you're Kyuubi, why are you not a big bad mean scary demon fox? He asked, slightly confused. She giggled as she said, I'm not all that evil as people believe, and this is just my human form. You see, technically not even a demon fox, I'm a giant concentrated being made of chakra, so I can change my body as I like. But when Tu-sama made us, he gave us our form body. I was given that of a fox, but we can change our forms to be that of a human if we wish. I prefer being in this form because in this situation it would have been easier to talk to you like this. Plus I would be crammed in my fox form because as you can see your mindscape isn't necessarily what you would call the biggest. But if you want I can change into my fox form, she said. No, you're perfectly fine like that, but if you really are the Kyuubi then can you possibly answer some questions I have? Yes, what is it? She already had a general idea of what he was going to ask. Was one of my parents your previous Jinchuriki? Yes, your mother, she was my second Jinchuriki right after Mito Uzumaki. Uzumaki, that's my surname. Another question, if you know who my mother is, do you know who my father was? He asked in a hopeful tone. Yes, your father is, as you theorized, Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage. He smiled. I was right, why did he seal you into me though? Did they love me? Yes, they were ecstatic when they found out they were going to be parents. They had everything planned out and your father was very protective of your mother, not wanting anything to happen to her and you, she said softly, smiling a bit at the end. Now, Naruto was not one to cry, but again he was a 6-year-old child. Sure, he was smart, what people would consider a genius at his age, but he was a child nonetheless. He was an orphan, no parents, no friends, no family or close nor distant relatives. There wasn't a day that went by where people wouldn't glare at him or call him names or whisper about him. He was alone for the most part. The only people he had to call family were Gigi and the Ichiraku family, but to hear that his blood parents loved him proved to be too much and tears began to spill out of happiness. As he wiped his tears he said, if you say you're not evil then why did you attack Konoha? At this, she scowled as if she remembered an unpleasant memory. Everything was going well during your birth until he showed up. He? Who? Yeah, the masked man. Masked man. Yes, during the night of your birth a masked man attacked and extracted me out of your mother. After that he used those blasted eyes of the Uchiha and controlled me into attacking the village. Everything went blank after that. Her face turned into a frown. After your father removed me from the masked man's control I was confused and didn't know what was going on. My mind wasn't in the right place. When I saw the sealing ritual on instinct I attacked you not wanting to he sealed again. Her voice slightly faltered and she took a deep breath. When I did your parents jumped in front of my attack to stop me. She paused and balled up her fists. I was the one who killed your parents, she finished as tears began to roll down. He looked at her, betrayal evident on his face. Tears ran down his face, he was looking at his parents' killer. He closed his eyes, and took a deep breath. He was unable to finish. He wanted to hate her, he really did, but, he just couldn't. This wasn't her fault. None of this was, he can't blame her, it would be hypocritical of him to fault her. Just like he doesn't want people to ostracize him for being Kyuubi's holder, he couldn't hate her for being controlled. It was all that Uchiha's fault. His life being miserable was all his fault. Kyuubi-chan ransacking Konoha was all his fault. His parents' death, his fault. He hesitated, but he then walked into the cage and hugged a crying Kyuubi. They both needed this. Naruto had never felt anyone's hug. It was comforting. He felt her hug back. He felt himself break down. It was too many emotions for him to handle. He didn't know how to respond to them. The fact that there was someone who would even replicate a hug, it made him feel warm inside. I wonder if this is how it feels to have people that care about you. None of this is your fault, it's all the masked man's fault, he said to her, breaking the silence. She looked at him with wide eyes. Then he smiled. Don't worry Kyuubi-sama, I promise I'll find this masked man, and make him pay, not just for killing my parents, but for controlling you against your will. I promise. I'm sure you will, Naruto-kun, she replied smiling. They separated and she started speaking. Now to my next point, you being my Jinchuriki gives your massive reserves, advanced healing, and what is not known to much is, I also have the ability to awaken the Rinne Sharingan considering you are of the Uzumaki clan and a direct descendant to Tusama. Your father was a Namikaze who branched off from the Uchihas but were ostracized by then due to not being able to awaken the Sharingan and eventually went nearly extinct. Most didn't awaken their Sharingan, but you still have Uchiha blood in you, enough for me to work with. Even though it's a small portion of your blood, you still have part Uchiha, Senju, and Uzumaki blood in you. The Senju blood came from Hashirama Senju and Mito Uzumaki, who are your great-grandparents. You have blood from both of Tusama's children, making you eligible for the Rinne Sharingan. Wait, the Rakudo Sennin was your father. He remembers reading about him in a book. Yes, I was originally part of a mindless beast of destruction and chaos, the Kyuubi. But Tusama defeated it, then became its first Jinchuriki. Towards his death he knew the Kyuubi will eventually reform and rampage again, so he split it into 9-tailed beasts, in order to bring peace and keep a power balance. She finished. His eyes widened in realization. So essentially, while everyone saw you tailed beasts, as mindless demons of chaos, you're all in reality heroes in a sense. Without you guys this world as we know it would not exist and the Kyuubi would run rampant. She smiled slightly at how smart this child was. It was shocking that a 6-year-old would be this smart and knowledgeable. Tusama, this is the boy. I'm sure this is the boy that will bring upon peace to this world. Yes, while I wouldn't call myself a hero, it's not too far off. Now about the Rinne Sharingan, tell me, Naruto-kun, what do you know of the Sharingan? From what I've read, the Sharingan is the powerful dojutsu Kekkei Genkei of the Uchiha clan. It can predict movement and copy techniques. Very well, now what do you know of the Rinnegan? Not much is known of it other than the Rakudo Sennin was the original wielder and it is said that it's the strongest out of the 3 dojutsu. Very good, now the Rinne Sharingan is a combination of the two, with the added abilities of the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, which is the next stage of the Mangekyo Sharingan. The abilities of the Mangekyo are powerful, but it comes with a severe drawback: it slowly leads to loss of sight. This issue is solved with the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, it stops your blindness. The Mangekyo Sharingan's abilities consist of the Susanoo, Tsukuyomi, Amaterasu, Kamui, Kotoamatsukami, and Izanagi. With the Susanoo you can create a humanoid avatar that works as a shield and is made out of your chakra and fights for you on your command. With the Tsukuyomi you can cast a powerful genjutsu, said to be the strongest and can only be dispelled by the Rinnegan. With Amaterasu you can create the strongest flames that burn through everything as long as you can focus on your target. With Kamui you can travel to the Kamui pocket dimension, you can move objects in and out of it at will, and it's said to be superior to the Yondaime's Hirishin since you don't need seals. Kotoamatsukami is a subtle but powerful genjutsu that allow you to modify and change people's memories and replace them with false ones. However, this ability can be used once every year, but as your eyes grow stronger you can shorten this to once a day or two. With Izanagi you can cast an illusion over reality, allowing you to decide what is and isn't while it's active, neglecting any injuries, even fatal ones, even after death. Although it has its limitations, it is mostly used as defense or avoiding lethal wounds. But I recommend not using the last one since it can cause tremendous strain to your eyes, leaving them unusable for a few days. The Rinne Sharingan also gives you the abilities of the Rinnegan. Information on the Rinnegan is scarce due to the rarity of users, but due to Tusama being the original wielder I know of its abilities. The Rinnegan has the abilities of the Byakugan minus the 359-degree vision. It gives you the ability to use all 5 elements. You can see chakra and its flow. It can also see the tenketsu of the 8 gates. You can also create black receivers that can transmit chakra. Then there are the 6 paths. The Diva path can control gravity and either pull things towards you to push things from you. The Asura path allows you to mechanize your body. With the human path you can extract souls and read their memories. You can use certain Rinnegan summons with the animal path. These differ from regular summons. You can absorb chakra and pure chakra techniques through the Petra path, although you cannot absorb Senjutsu chakra. With the Nakara path you have access to the King of Hell. Then there is the outer path, which is you. The Rinnegan allows you to preside over life and death. granting you the ability to revive the dead, but beware, it costs a lot of chakra. You can summon the demonic statue of the outer path, which is the body of the Kyuubi. I'm made of its chakra and the statue is the hollow husk of the Kyuubi. Although I recommend not using this as it does not require chakra but your life force, usually it will kill you, but due to your Uzumaki lineage, it'll leave you in a terrible crippled state. There are certain abilities limited to the Rinne Sharingan, like Limbo. Limbo allows you to reside inside an invisible world that is usually impossible to detect. While in this world you can still make physical contact with the physical world, allowing you to harm your enemies. While in this world, you can make up to 4 clones that reside in the Limbo world, all of which have the same abilities as you, finished the redhead. Wow, that doesn't sound fair to the rest of the world. She chuckled a little bit at his response. Yeah, I know, it's a lot to take in, but don't worry Naruto-kun, I will train you how to use these abilities, said the red-haired beauty, reassuring him. Will you really? Will you teach me how to be strong? I hate being weak. Yes, don't worry, after I'm done with you there won't be a single soul who will beat you, she said smugly. Yada, he exclaimed and jumped in happiness. Thank you Kyuubi-sama, I promise I won't disappoint you. She slightly smiled, this child is destined to do great things. Please, none of that Kyuubi-sama stuff, call me by the name Tu-sama gave me, call me Kurumi, but it's time you should be waking up Naruto-kun. I'll be giving you tips on how to use your abilities while in your mindscape. Since you've already made initial contact with me, I'll be able to talk to you while you're not in your mindscape, so when you respond talk in your head, I'll be able to hear. Now wake up Naruto-kun, I sense people near you. Okay, I'll see you later Kurumi-chan. Chapter 2, The Awakening. As Naruto's consciousness started returning to him and he regained my senses, he began to hear talking. Sounded like Old Man Hokage and 3 other voices, 2 male 1 female. No Danzo, I'm not letting the boy become one of your mindless puppets, said the only voice he recognized, which was the voice of the 3rd Hokage. Then what do you suggest we do with the boy Hiruzen, said the other male voice. When he becomes of age I will enroll him in the academy. Why will you let the demon brat join the academy? Don't tell me you really plan on letting the brat become a shinobi, said the female voice. Let me remind you Kaharu, he is not a demon, he simply holds the demon, replied Hiruzen. Naruto started shuffling. You're dismissed, he's waking up. When he heard footsteps, then the door opened then closed. He took this as a cue to start shuffling some more and his eyes fluttered open. Ow, even opening his eyes hurt. Gigi, is it true you're going to enroll me in the academy? Asked the blonde boy. Yes, once you reach age 10 I'll enroll you in the academy. I smiled slightly, I will be making my ascent to become a shinobi. Gigi, can I leave this place and have that new ramen flavor? The old man chuckled. Yes boy, but not right now, you need to rest. I estimate you'll be out in 2 months, but you should be able to eat in about a week. Time skipped to 8 days later. These past 8 days he's been spending his time in his mindscape. While his body rested, he changed the appearance of his mindscape to make it more hospitable for Kurumi-chan. It changed from a sewer to a plain with a few trees, here and there, basically just looked like a regular outdoor plain. Although his injuries, realistically it was supposed to take more than 2 months for his body to heal, but thanks to Kurumi-chan his body healed at a ridiculous pace. 3rd-degree burns, fractured ribs, and broken arm and leg are not injuries that healed in 8 days. The nurses and doctors were shocked to say the least, but it just added to their rage. The demon can regenerate at a rapid pace. He was free to go, so he headed to his apartment to let Kurumi-chan begin the process. After consulting Kurumi-chan with it and talking about it during these past 8 days, he decided against telling the Hokage about the whole Kyuubi situation and the Rinne Sharingan he was going to get. Not that he didn't trust him, but still. As he made his way to his apartment, a thought reached his mind. Hey, Kurumi-chan, is it going to hurt? Although he couldn't see it, he could have sworn she just smirked evilly. I hate to say it Naru-kun, but yes, it will feel like your eyes are being stabbed. Repeating. After that it'll feel like someone casted an amaterasu on your eyes, but don't worry Naru-kun, the pain will only last for an hour. While your eyes may feel sore for a few days after the process is over, it'll definitely be worth it. The red-haired female said. Now he was nervous, that definitely did not sound pleasant, but he did have to agree with her, the benefits definitely outweighed the bad. He laid down on his mattress in his apartment and entered his mindscape. Inside was Kurumi-chan. Her appearance was same as before except for a necklace she wore with the kanji for seal. I would recommend creating a table so I can strap you in. I know this will be painful and I can't have you flailing around. It will mess up the process. I reluctantly created one and laid on it as she strapped me on. I closed my eyes and I felt her soft hands over my eyes. It was quite pleasant. I'm sorry Naru-kun. The pleasant feel of her hands was the last pleasant thing I felt before the pain took over. Time skipped to 2 weeks. She said it would feel like someone was stabbing my eyes repeatedly. PFTO how he wish it felt like that. No, it was much worse. This made the pain he felt at the monument feel like a stroll through the park. But I digress. He now my the Rinne Sharingan, but Kurumi-chan recommended he rest his eyes for a week at least after the process was done, just to be on the safe side. That was 2 weeks ago and now Kurumi-chan told him that it was safe to use his eyes now. She told him that before he jumps into the deep end he should start with the basics, and it would be better that he trains his body to handle the strain that using these eyes will give me. Most of it would be mental strain yes but still, working his body would definitely help. She started him with doing basic weights on each leg. After I was fit enough for jutsus she taught him his first one, the Kage Bushin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Jutsu. It was an A-rank technique that required a lot of chakra but was no problem for him since cause of his massive reserves. The trick to shadow clones is that the memories from the shadow clone return to the caster after dispelling. It proved great for training. She had him perform them while water walking. Of course, learning these techniques was a walk in the park with his Rinne Sharingan but the difficult part proved to be doing these techniques while walking on water. But he eventually got it down quickly due to his Rinne Sharingan. She taught him the basic academy techniques. After I got them mastered we started getting into elemental jutsus. She taught him one jutsu from each element. The first one she taught him was the Kaden, Gokaku no Jutsu, fire style, fireball jutsu. The basic fireball technique of the Uchiha clan. The second was the Futon, Daitapa wind release, great breakthrough AC ranked technique that allows you to blow wind through your mouth. The third was the Raiden, Jaibashi lightning release, electromagnetic murder. It allows you to send a wave of electricity through your hands. The fourth was Doden, Doryuheiki earth release, mud wall which allows you to create an earth wall when you slam your hands on the floor. The fifth technique was the Sweden no Jutsu water release, water bullet jutsu. This jutsu allowed you to spit a steam of water out your mouth. You can also split it and shoot them like bullets. He did these until he was able to do them with two hand signs, except for wind and lightning. He showed complete and utter mastery over these two elements. He can do his lightning and wind jutsu without any hand seals but he still liked using one hand seal. Kurumi told him that he would have to practice with the three other elements until managed to gain the same amount of control he has with his lightning and wind techniques. Once he's done that then he would be able to dabble into sub-elements. It's a popular belief that sub-elements like Yoden lava release or Hyoden ice release for example can only be used with a bloodline. However, this isn't true. You simply just have to have complete control over the two elements, or three if we're talking about Jinten dust release required to form it. For example, people from the Yuki clan usually had near-perfect control over water and wind so making ice wasn't much of an issue to them, they just had to practice their balance. To make the sub-elements you have to use combine and balance both elements. It sounds simple but it really isn't. It usually takes a long time but with shadow clones this time should shorten. His body can now handle taijutsu so Kurumi had him work on his taijutsu. He learned a taijutsu style based on agility. You would outmove your opponent and land hits in pressure points slowly crippling your enemy. He had to extensively study human anatomy in order to learn where the pressure points were to make this style work. He also had to be really fast in order for this technique to work. If he was going to be honest, it's based on the Hyuga's Juken. In a matter of fact he can probably replicate their Juken because he can see the Tenketsu, but he didn't want to, maybe eventually but not now. Going to the library was also much easier now. He didn't need to steal the books now. He would simply make clones and henge them and have them go to the library and read a book on every subject ranging from history to books on chakra theory. He had them go to the restroom and dispel every 10 minutes so his brain won't overload with information. On a book on the Third Shinobi War is where he found out about Uzushiogakure. His curiosity toward Fuinjutsu bloomed. When Kurumi initially told him of the Uzumaki clan he was fascinated. They were known for their longevity and their seal masters. He was shocked at how badass his clan was. He decided to try and become a seal master, to continue the Uzumaki legacy and not let his ancestors down. He made a mental note to visit the ruins at one point. Because there was bound to be some scrolls or something, Iwa and Kumo must have searched through the ruins for stuff, but the Uzumaki were known for their seals. He's sure that there was some secret vault with really badass jutsu or seal locked behind really complex seals that only allowed someone with Uzumaki blood or something to open it. Well, at least he hoped there was. But damn, his clan must have been such badasses. He really wanted to bring his clan back to its former glory. That's a goal he'll work towards. It all sounded great and all, however, there is one problem. Konoha. He doubts the Konoha council allow him to simply waltz out of the village and start a new one. And if he did, then he's sure they will try and control him in the village. He came to the conclusion that he would eventually need to leave the village in order to fulfill his ambitions. However, he will need his inheritance from his father. He already got his mother's, but he can't get his father's until he made Chunin or was 18, so he would have to stay until then. He thought back to the conversation. Flashback. 12-year-old Naruto was making his way to talk to the Hokage about his parents to see if he had any inheritance. He decided to say he read about the Uzumaki in a book cause he wasn't entire sure if he should tell him about Kurumi-chan. I opened the door to see him cursing paperwork. Then looked up and noticed me. Hello Naruto my boy, what can I do for you? Hey Gigi, I have a question. What is it? Asked the elderly man. Hey Gigi, can you tell the shadows in the room to leave? I'd prefer it if this conversation was kept just between us. His eyes widened in shock but soon receded and lifted his hand to signal his anbu they could leave. How did you know they were here? I could sense their chakra. His eyes widened once again. A sensor. Those are rare. My Minato, Kushina, your son is definitely something, he mused. Anyways, what was your question? Okay, so I read a book from the library about the Uzumaki clan. Was I from a clan? The elderly man's eyes hardened then sighed. I guess there's no way of hiding it now then. Yes, you're the last of the Uzumaki clan. They along with Uzushiogakure, which is where the majority of them lived, fell in a joint invasion by Kumo and Iwa, due to fear of the Uzumaki growing stronger. When Konoha arrived to support it was too late. However, your mother was in Konoha time and was safe, but I'm sure there are Uzumakis scattered around the elemental nations. Gigi, who is my mother? Sorry Naruto, I'm not sure it's the right time to tell you. Come on Gigi, I'm 12, I'm not some idiot kid, I'm sure I can handle it, I said with enthusiasm. The older man could only chuckle. Alright if you say so. Your mother was none other than Kushina Uzumaki. She was a phenomenal kunoichi. She was also known as Konoha's Red Death. I faked a shocked face since I already knew who she was. Did she love me? Asked the blonde boy. Yes my boy, she loved you more than anything else. You should have seen her reaction when she found out she was pregnant with you. He already heard this from Kurumi, but nonetheless, it made him happy and brought a smile to his face to hear it again. Did she leave me anything? I wasn't going to give you her inheritance until you made Chunin, but seeing as you are mature to handle it, I'll give it to you, said the older man as he pulled out a scroll and said. It will open with your blood, open it when you get home. Okay thanks Gigi, but what about my father? Asked the blonde boy. I'm sorry Naruto, that information I cannot disclose. You have to make Chunin or be 18 inches. I decided not to push it. I already got my mother's inheritance, so this trip was already a success. Okay thanks Gigi, Yane. Flashback end. It was now night and he was resting, so he entered my mindscape to spend some time with Kurumi. Hey, Kurumi-chan, what are your thoughts on my plan to revive Uzushio? Is definitely ambiguous, but I believe if anyone can bring Uzushio back to its former glory, it's you. You have my support. Thank you Kurumi-chan. Nay, do you really think there are others besides me? I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that there are clan members scattered around. The Uzumaki are too stubborn to die out after all. A small chuckle left my mouth. Right. And Femme Kyuubi is going to be the main girl, but I need suggestions for who else I should add to harem. So far I have Mei, Yugito, Samui, Hinata, Guren, Koyuki, Konan, Pakura, Shion, Karen, Tamari, Femme Haku, I was thinking of adding 2 other OCs, but I'm still thinking about it. Honestly, most of the girls I added were so they're going to help Naruto with his subelements. Also, would you guys like a massive harem? It's already pretty large, but still, he has to have a pretty big one if he plans to bring back the Uzumaki clan. Let me know. Ya nay. Chapter 3, Graduation. I'm now on the last day of the academy, so it's been 8 years since I've started my training with Kurumi-chan, and I must say, I'm quite proud of my progress. I'm not one to toot my horn, but I would definitely stomp on all my academy classmates combined. I've mastered all 5 of the elements to the point where I no longer need hand seals and can call out my techniques in my mind without having to say them out loud. I've also managed to pick up some kenjutsu because there is nothing better than a well-rounded shinobi. Of course, I was still pretty sloppy and didn't know any stances. I was hoping to find someone that will maybe train me. I'll have to ask Hokage Gigi if he knows anyone. I've learned how to use the Petra path, Diva path, human path and animal path and human path. I had to practice on animals for the human path, but I didn't just want to needlessly kill animals, so I used this as an opportunity to practice the outer path. I just can't get myself to use the Asura path, it's way too creepy. With my Sharingan abilities I can use the Kamui, Tsukuyomi, Amaterasu with ease and no strain. The Kamui ability is quite neat, I find myself using it a lot. I haven't found a use for Koto Amatsukami and Izanagi yet. With my Susanoo I'm only up to the skin. I already have the ribcage and skin but no armor, so it still needs work. With the scrolls Ka-san left, I've gotten a better hang with seals. I can now make gravity seals, which help a great deal with my physical training. I've also learned how to make chakra blocking seals and chakra disrupting seals. The chakra blocking seals seal off your chakra and the chakra disrupting seal messed with your chakra flow, making it harder to perform techniques. I'm working towards not needing paper to use them. I've also created a seal that stores my chakra, so if at some point I run out of chakra I have a little boost and a backup. I've also learned how to make sealing tattoos that I put on my arm. I would just pump chakra and think of the item I wanted and it will pop it out as long as it's in the scroll. Funny enough, a big part of seals is not just making seals, but understand them. It's kind of hard to explain it, but a big part of it is understanding the seals and identifying what seal it is and trying to figure out how to do and undo it. It's quite fascinating. My current Fuinjutsu project I'm working on is a seal that allows me to seal any chakra-based jutsu fired at me and shoot them back out. Like, say for example, I face another Mangekyou Sharingan user and they fire an Amaterasu at me, I could seal it and shoot it back out at them. This would be useful if I'm trying to conserve chakra. However, I was currently stuck. I was able to suck it in to shoot it out, but instead of having it burst out and shoot towards them, it would simply just plop down. Then I remembered back to when I received my mom's inheritance and scrolls, then a smile crept to my face. Flashback. As soon as I left Hokage Gigi's office I dashed home as fast as possible. When I arrived I opened the scroll and used a kunai to prick my finger and wiped my finger in the scroll. Soon a few items popped out. The first one I picked up was a scroll. From Kushina Uzumaki, your Ka-san. Hello Sochi, if you're reading this then it means that I'm not around to be with you. I just hope that you're not mad at me nor you too san, and if you are that you'll one day come to forgive us. We really wish we were around to see you grow up, but right now is not the time for such negative thoughts. I left you some scrolls for some Uzumaki sealing techniques if you ever one day hope to pick up Fuinjutsu. I also left you a special key that will lead you to a vault where my family's treasures are hidden. Make the Uzumaki proud. Inside there is also a scroll for the famed Uzumaki chakra chains, which are capable of restraining a buji. They can also be used. Key will need your blood for it actually work, and once it starts glowing pump chakra into it. I love you Sochi. Again, I'm sorry I wasn't there during your childhood. I hope you turned out good. P.S. I hope you're on good terms with Kurumi. I trust her to train you as she did with me. Yane teardrop mark. You taught Ka-san. Yes, I remember when she was a little kid. She was smart but hot-headed at times. Your father was the only one that could calm her down. Most of the time, said the vixen as she gave a nostalgic chuckle. I looked at the other items and noticed the key she mentioned. It was pretty big, almost as big as half of my forearm, but it was surprisingly not heavy. So I hid it in a sealing scroll for when I visit the Uzushio ruins. Next were a couple of scrolls one assumed were the sealing techniques she was talking about and some jutsu. Flashback end. Underscore. Since I've mastered all of the 5 elements I started experimenting with subelements. The easiest was definitely Hyoten, ice release, and Shoten, crystal release. The rest were quite difficult. Although Mokuten, wood release, is a special case, that one I could currently not do since it not only requires earth and water but you have to be a sage since you have to be one with nature. He would need someone who is familiar with the sub-elements to help me out, something he will definitely be looking out for when I leave. I've heard there was a woman who can use both Yoden, lava release, and Futen, boil release, fighting in the civil war in Kiri. I've also mastered the chakra chains that Ka-san mentioned in the letter. He can create a barrier and can freely control how much chains can come out and control them at will as if it was another limb. They prove to be useful for many other things outside the battlefield. Like multitasking while making ramen. Now that's enough boasting about my abilities. I don't want to get an inflated ego like a certain Uchiha. I finished getting dressed and ate a quick bowl of ramen. I grabbed my stuff and was about to leave via Kamui, but anyone saw that it would be a pain to explain it to anyone if anyone saw it, so I made a one-handed ram sign and left in a blur via Shunshin body flicker jutsu and arrived in front of the academy. I've made a lot of great friends through these 4 years that I've been in the academy. It truly saddens me that I'll have to leave, but it must be done. Talking about relationships, Kurumi and I tied the knot. I spent a lot of time with her. I started feeling funny as I spent time with her. I had an idea as to what it was that I was feeling, but I couldn't tell her until I was certain. Until I was sure I fell in love with her. When she told me she loved me too, it was truly one of the best moments of my life. Anyways, when I entered the academy, all my friends whom I've just mentioned were there. Firstly there was Kiba Inuzuka, heir to the Inuzuka clan. He was a bit brash and loud, always yelling stuff about being an alpha male, and whatnot. Can't really understand that, must be an Inuzuka thing. Secondly, there was Shikamaru Nara, heir to the Nara. He's lazy and says, troublesome, but don't let that deceive you. He may not be much but he's a genius. Whenever I play shogi with him I always lose. We've been friends since before the academy, since he's never been mean to me like all the other kids when they used to play in the park. Thirdly there is Choji Akamichi, heir to the Akamichi clan. He's big-boned. His clan jutsu use his calories and turns it into strength. He's a great guy with a big heart. There isn't a moment where you don't see him with chips. Fourth there is Shino Abarame, heir to the Abarame clan. He isn't talkative but he's still nice to him, thus a friend to him. Fifth there is Ino Yamanaka, heiress to the Yamanaka clan. She isn't as bad as it seems. At first look she seemed bitchy, but she's nice to me and that's enough in my book. Now only if she could get over her fangirl attitude and focus on training more, then that'll be more points in his book. Then there is Hinata Hyuga, former heiress to the Hyuga clan. She's shy and soft-spoken and stutters a lot, especially when she's around me. If I'm going to be honest, it gets annoying after a while. She's a great friend though. She's always supportive of me. We've been friends for a long time since I've saved her from a group of bullies a while back. I mean, what isn't there to like? She's nice, supportive and pretty. Now if we could get rid of that stuttering issue, that'll be a major win. It's not as bad as when they first started hanging out, but still. Her stalking habits and never leaving blush around me can get a bit creepy at times. Also, I could swear I've seen her give me lust-filled gazes at times. But hey, who am I to stop her? Then there is Tem and Banshee. Tem isn't all that bad. He's just arrogant and emo and lets his emotions get the better of him. I can understand why. Having your entire clan and family killed by your older brother who you cared for and looked up to tends to do things to people. He can probably be fixed. His skill is pretty high for an academy student compared to everyone else, so I can respect that, but still it's nothing to call yourself an elite for. Although he would sometimes catch Sasuke looking at him, a bit weird, but whatever. Then there is the Banshee. She's beyond salvation. I tried to befriend her and she thought I was hitting on her. I honestly feel bad for Sasuke. Let me show you in a flashback. Flashback. It was the first day in the academy. I was excited because I could finally start my journey as a shinobi. Everything was going fine. I befriended a few clan heirs and even a civilian girl named Amy. I was going to befriend another civilian girl named Sakura Haruno. I recognized that last name from the civilian council. Maybe if I got to befriend her, her mother won't be a total, for a lack of better word, bitch to me. However, that was a mistake that made my ears suffer. Hi, my name is Naruto Uzumaki, nice to meet you, I said with my hand out hoping to make another friend. Shut up Naruto baka, stop trying to flirt with me, my heart is only for Sasuke-kun, yelled a certain pink-haired banshee. I winced at her tone. What the is wrong with her? I decided to not push it anymore and just walked away in hopes of never experiencing that again. Flashback end. I slightly winced at the memory as I made my way up towards a seat next to a certain lavender-eyed girl while greeting my friends. Hey Hina-chan, are you ready? I asked as I sat down next to her but chuckled a bit at her full-blown blush at her nickname. I hope I am N. Naruto-kun, she said, saying his name barely over a whisper as her blush darkened. What was that Hina-chan? I didn't quite catch that last part, I said teasingly. She may be my friend but you can't resist not teasing her. Her blush was now a full-face blush. Stop teasing me Naruto-kun, I'm J. Just not used to this yet, she said looking down slightly. I smiled. It's okay Hina-chan, I didn't mean to tease you. We can stop with the nicknames if it makes you uncomfortable. No don't, she said a little bit louder than she expected as her face started steaming in embarrassment as everyone turned at her to see what all the fuss was about, so she crossed her arms on the table and hid in them to hide her embarrassment. So of course, I took this as an opportunity to tease her some more. I'm starting to wonder if I'm a sadist. I brought my mouth near her ear and whispered suggestively. Hina-heim, I never knew you felt so strongly about that. I could have sworn that when she shuddered she moaned a bit, but Iruka came to her rescue. Alright brats, quiet down, yelled a certain scarred Chunin before continuing. Today we will see if these 4 years did anything towards your goal to become shinobi or kunoichi, or if you just wasted your time. We're starting off with a written exam, he finished as everyone except a certain blonde groaned. As they passed out tests I noticed one had a genjutsu over it. He knew it must have come from the Chunin named Mitsuki. His negative emotions sensor always went off when he was around him. He must be one of those fools who see him as the Kyuubi. So I simply make a discreet hand sign and dispelled it. Hey Kuru-chan, get a load of this, I said in my mind. A little while after I made contact with her she requested to share my senses. She'll see what I see, hear what I hear, taste what I taste, and feel what I feel. I of course allowed that since what did I have to lose, it probably gets boring in here. Are those really the questions that you need to become a shinobi? That's kind of depressing. Yeah, I don't see how anyone could possibly fail this, the blonde mused. So are you going to go through with your plan? Yeah, I'll just have to get a passing grade. I read somewhere that every year there is a squad that has the Rookie of the Year and Dead Last of the Year with the best and most promising Kunoichi of the Year in the same squad, in hopes that the 2 top rookies will be a motivational factor for them to improve. So he decided to use this as an advantage to get the best squad for a better chance at passing the Chunin exams. If he is correct, then Hinata will probably get the Kunoichi of the Year and Sasuke will get Rookie of the Year. So he has to become the Dead Last of the Year. So he decided to get the bare minimum to pass in hopes of becoming the Dead Last. Era Naru-kun, who would have thought about that? Such a genius. I may have to reward you if this works, she said suggestively with a giggle. I smiled. A blush crept on my face. Oh really Ku-chan, what did you have in mind? I certainly have many things that I could reward you with. I said suggestively, then I sensed her blushing. HMPH, you may have won this round but certainly not the war, she said before ending the link. He seriously shouldn't have told the clones to read every book in the library. As for why there are so many books on seduction in the library is beyond him. He finished the test in time for Iruka to call the end of the test. And they began walking to a room with targets. Next is Shuriken Jutsu. Each person gets 20 kunai. If you hit the target it's worth 10 points. However, after you've used up 10 the target starts to move, and if you hit it you get 20 points, making it a total of 300 points. You have to hit the target at least 10 times to pass. I'm just going to do the points for the characters that actually matter. Choji, 180 points. Shino, 200 points. Shikamaru, 150 points. Hinata, 220 points. Sakura, 180 points. Sasuke, 240 points. Naruto, 150 points. Ino, 160 points. When everyone finished, the scores were shown. Sasuke smiled arrogantly as a certain banshee was screeching about not getting the best score and her precious Sasuke-kun being the best. I just rolled my eyes. After all of that we made our way to a ring. Next is taijutsu, winner gets announced when they either get thrown out the ring or your opponent forfeits, no jutsu is allowed. When I call your names come to the ring. Match 1, Choji Akamaiki vs Shino Abarame. Both contestants made their way to the middle of the ring. Hajime. Both shifted into their taijutsu stances as Choji ran rather foolishly towards the bug boy. They began to exchange hits but Shino was obviously getting overpowered. Choji threw a punch but dodged it but didn't see the other fist coming his way before it made contact with his face sending him back slightly before getting kicked off the ring. Winner, Choji, said Iruka before continuing. Match 2, Shikamaru Nara vs Random Civilian. A certain Nara whispered, troublesome, before lazily walking towards the ring. Hajime. They both got into the academy taijutsu style. The civilian's stance was rather sloppy then rushed the Nara before stumbling at the foot Shikamaru put out before pushing him off the ring. Winner, Shikamaru. Match 3, Hinata Hyuga vs Sakura Haruno. Both made their way so Naruto decided to encourage his good friend. Good luck Hina-chan, said the blonde. Thank you Naruto-kun. I have to win this for Naruto-kun, and because the Banshee keeps insulting my Naru-kun. She blushed at the concept of Naruto being hers but shook it off. Both girls made their way to the ring. I have to win this to prove to Sasuke-kun I'm strong and then he'll date me, screeched Sakura while Hinata just stayed quiet and get into her clan's taijutsu stance then Sakura got into her sloppy academy stance. Hajime. Sakura immediately rushed before getting tripped and tumbled to the floor. Naruto couldn't help but snort. Which didn't go unnoticed by a pink-haired Banshee. Sakura was fuming, the blonde idiot laughed at her. And this bitch, this weird-eyed bitch is embarrassing her in front of her Sasuke-kun. She tried standing up, rage evident in her face, but as she finally stood up Hinata rushed at impressive genin speeds and hit 2 pressure points on each leg making her unable to move. Iruka, this match ended, she'll be unable to move her legs for the next 2 minutes so it's useless continuing, said the Hyuga shocking everyone due to the fact that she didn't stutter. Iruka just nodded, winner Hinata Hyuga. Naruto just smiled, was she finally getting over her stutter? Good job Hina-chan, I'm proud of you, said Naruto. Hinata just turned red before replying. Thank you Naru-kun. Yeah never mind the stutter is still there. Eren Naru-kun, you're going to make me jealous with all that flirting. Said Kurumi in a mock-hurt voice. Oh really Kuru-chan, I thought you were okay with having concubines. After all, you were the one that recommended I take multiple wives to restart the Uzumaki, said Naruto. Geez I know Naru-kun but wow, that fight was really pathetic, commented Kurumi. Yeah my match is next match against the Tem, I'm going to show off a bit, said Naruto slightly smirking. Yeah whatever don't let this victory get to your head. And don't show off too much, we still have to keep trump cards okay. Yeah I know it's not like I'm going to use my Susanoo on him or anything, said Naruto. Sakura was about to get taken off to the nurse's office before she heard Sasuke's match was next so she demanded to stay or else she was going to scream. So the medics obliged not wanting to hear the infamous Haruno screech. Match 4, Naruto Uzumaki vs Sasuke Uchiha. Woo Sasuke-kun wipe the floor with him. Shut up forehead and sit down so they can start their match, said a certain platinum blonde. It's Naruto-kun's match, thought Hinata. Gee. Good luck Naruto-kun, Hinata said rather quietly since her voice was being muffled out by fangirl screeching. Her lips formed a frown since Naruto probably didn't hear her. Sasuke walked towards the ring rather smugly while his eyes didn't leave Naruto while he made his way. Meanwhile all his fangirls yelling that their precious Sasuke-kun is going to fight. Naruto just walked in with an impassive face before turning to Hinata with a smile. Thank you Hina-chan, I replied. Her frown quickly turned into a smile as a blush crept onto her face. He heard me, thought Hinata happily. Hajime. Both stood still for a few seconds analyzing each other for a while before Sasuke rushed Naruto at high genin speeds before throwing a fist at the blonde who simply just stood still and blocked him fist with his right arm. As soon as he stopped it Sasuke sent a kick but Naruto stopped it with his other hand before Sasuke jumped back. Damn why did this idiot stop my attacks, it felt as if I was kicking a rock, he didn't budge at all, thought the raven-haired Uchiha angrily. Sasuke let emotions take control of him and angrily rushed Naruto with his first cocked back. Naruto simply shook his head before grabbing his fist and flipping him around before striking him on the chest, pushing him out the ring in one swift motion. Everyone including Iruka simply looked at the blonde with eyes as white as saucers. While Naruto just looked at them before hiving a foxy smile. Maybe I overdid it, Naruto thought. Iruka left his shocked state and announced the winner. Winner Naruto Uzumaki. Sasuke was fuming. How did this clanless loser beat him? An elite. The Uchiha are the best of the best, so how did he let this doby beat him, he thought angrily. He turned to look at the blonde that had his back faced towards him. Why is it always him? What's so special about him? He ran through hand signs and called out his clan's signature jutsu. Kaiten, Gokaku no Jutsu, fire style, fireball jutsu, yelled out Sasuke. As if it was in slow motion, everyone could see the fireball make its way towards the blonde. Hinata's heart dropped as she was about to yell out something. At the same time Iruka was about to stop it before the blonde did something Iruka thought he would never see. Naruto didn't even look back when he put up the single ram hand sign, and from out of thin air a water dragon formed and crashed into Sasuke's technique, creating a smokescreen. When the smoke cleared out, they noticed Naruto was no longer where he was standing but behind the Sasuke. My Sasuke-chan. I never thought you'll be the type to have his emotions take control of you like that, said Naruto in an amused tone. Sasuke's eyes widened at the honorific as he turned around, expecting to be face to face with the blonde, only for him to be gone. He looked around before noticing he was besides Hinata smirking at him. How did he get there that fast? How did he do that? I let my emotions take control of me. Itachi never let his emotions take control of him. How can I even think about defeating Itachi if I can't even control my emotions, thought Sasuke grimly. It was dead silent. You could even hear crickets in the background. Everyone had a single thought on their mind. What the just happened? Everyone eventually left their shocked state. Naruto, where did you learn that? Asked Iruka. A magician never reveals their secrets, said the blonde cryptically while everyone just sweat dropped at his answer. That was amazing, Naruto-kun, finally spoke up Hinata. Thank you, Hina-chan, I appreciate it, replied Naruto. PFFTTT, their reactions were priceless. Naru-kun, did I ever mention that you're my favorite container, said Kurumi. I'm pretty sure you've mentioned it at some point, I replied in amused tone. It took everything I had to not burst out laughing at their reactions. Iruka-sensei, Naruto Baka cheated, there is no way he would beat Sasuke-kun, he should be disqualified, screeched Sakura. Everyone facepalmed. Actually Sakura, if anyone is going to get disqualified it would be Sasuke for attempting to use a possibly fatal jutsu towards a classmate, said Iruka. But I can't disqualify him though because the council would kill me, thought Iruka. Anyways, Sasuke, don't let this happen again or you're not graduating. Now let's all head to the room and wait for the ninjutsu test. The way there still couldn't believe what happened and everyone looked at Naruto at awe. Until Ino was the first one to speak up. Naruto, where did you learn to do all that? It was kind of cool. Yeah, you definitely put the Tem in his place, said Kiba enthusiastically. Troublesome, mumbled a certain Nara. While Sasuke was in the back brooding but saw the blonde in a new light. I need to get him to teach me how to do that and how he's so fast, thought the Uchiha. When they arrived to homeroom, Iruka started speaking. Next is the ninjutsu segment. You will have to do the 3 ninjutsu we taught you. If you fail to do any you will fail. When I call you you will go with me to room 101. Starting with, I just dozed off and entered my mindscape. Hey Kurumi-chan. Hi Naru-kun. I've been working on your seal and goddamn, my 2-san is a genius. It's okay Naru-kun, although I do wish I can be out of this seal so I can claim your lips. Maybe when I visit the Uzumaki ruins I can find something that would help me, however the conversation was cut off. Naruto Uzumaki, said Iruka. I heard my name being called, so I walked to Iruka, then we made our way to the room. First is the Kimawari replacement jutsu, switch spots with that chair, he said pointing to a chair on the left. So I replaced spots with it. Very well, next is the Henge transformation jutsu, so I hang to look like Iruka. Lastly is the clone Bushin no Jutsu, so I made a single-handed ram seal and made a shadow clone. Very well, you passed. Choose your high 8-band color. This is easily changeable though, said Iruka as he pulled out hiates with different colored bands. So I chose a black colored one. Thank you Iruka-sensei, I said as I tied to my forehead as I made my way out of the room. A while later Iruka came back after everyone was done. Congratulations to those of you who passed the test, today paves your journey as shinobi. Tomorrow you will come here to know who your genin squads will be and to meet your jonin senseis, he said as he left followed by everyone. Night time. I was currently finishing training when in the distance I noticed someone passing by. It was for a second but I managed to recognize who it was. It was my friend Amy. The last time I saw her I was comforting her because she was crying due to not passing the exam. But then I noticed a giant scroll on her back so I decided to follow her. I arrived to the clearing she was at and she was looking at the scroll. I noticed it was the scroll of sealing. I decided to show up behind her without her noticing and ran my eyes through it so copy the techniques, thank God for the Sharingan's photographic memory. After I finished I decided to make my presence known. Hey Amy-chan I hope you know stealing the scroll of sealing can put you into prison. She jumped up in shock. You scared me Naruto-kun. Guess what, I'm gonna pass, she said happily. Mizuki-sensei said that if I learn a jutsu from here I'll be able to pass. Mizuki-sensei. What does he, but my thoughts were cut off by the sound of air being cut. On instinct I grabbed Amy and the scroll jumped away. I turned to look at the spot where they came from and Mizuki was standing there. Ah I see what's going on. Mizuki-sensei I got the scroll, said Amy. Okay good now give it to me, said Mizuki. No Amy, don't, I said as I put out my arm to stop her. Why, said Amy before being cut off by Mizuki. You, he said as he looked at me with venom laced in his voice before an evil smile crept onto his face. Say Naruto, do you know who everyone hates you? Because you're the Kyuubi, the demon who killed countless people. You are the demon, he said with a smirk. I could have sworn I heard Kurumi snort in my head. I just looked at Mizuki with a blank stare before I went into a mock thinking pose. A demon you say? That sounds pretty cool. I mean Kyuubi is the strongest of the tailed beasts so it must mean I'm strong right? I mused. Mizuki just looked at me with shocked eyes before they turned into angry hate-filled eyes. Yes a demon, and I will be the one to kill the demon, he said before throwing a couple of shurikens so I grabbed Amy and the scroll and took her to another secluded place. Stay here and take care of the scroll, he tricked you. I'll take care of him, I said seriously. When I saw her nod nervously I left in a blur. When I arrived to where Mizuki was I was met with Mizuki rushing me with his fist cocked back. I sidestepped his fist and grabbed it and spin him and threw him to a tree. I then called out my technique. Bansho Tenon Universal Pull. Mizuki found himself being pulled by Naruto by an unstoppable force before he was met with a punch to the face with a strength no genin should have. He flew to another tree and was knocked out cold. He heard Iruka coming and when he arrived I told him what happened and where Amy was. We then tied up Mizuki and took him with us. We went to where Amy was and explained what happened. Iruka told me we would go to the Hokage to make sure Amy wouldn't be punished and explain the situation since I was the one with Amy. When I arrived at the Hokage Tower house via Shunshin, I walked in and kicked the door open to the shock of Amy and Iruka. Hello Gigi, so basically I was training in the forest when I saw Amy running with a giant scroll. I decided to follow her to see what happened but when I arrived I noticed that it was the scroll of sealing. She then told me that Mizuki told her that if she got the scroll she'll be able to pass the academy test she failed. Mizuki then came and attacked us proving that he tricked her, so I confronted him and stopped him then Iruka came. And now we're here. The Hokage was shocked that Naruto managed to take out a Chunin fresh out of the academy. Very well done my boy, for doing such a great job this will go on your record as a B-ranked mission, you're free to go. I nodded and left via Shunshin when I got home I laid down and entered my mindscape as my body rested. Tomorrow would be a new day, I'll meet my Jonin sensei and my Genin squad. Chapter 4, Bell Test. Naruto awoke to the blazing sun in his face screaming, wake up. So today you'll see if your plan worked, said Kurumi in his head. Yeah, if it doesn't I just embarrassed myself these past 4 years getting the minimum passing score on my tests, replied Naruto. He left his bed and started changing into his new appearance. Since he was starting his shinobi career, he decided to change his appearance to be more fitting for a shinobi. He went with mostly dark colors since it's more fitting for a shinobi. He of course would have preferred to wear orange, but orange isn't very shinobi-like, and plus if he put too much orange, Kurumi would probably kill him. He wore black anbu pants with tape wrapped around his right thigh with standard black shinobi sandals. He had a custom-made dark gray shuriken and kunai holster. Inside has a seal for the pocket dimension where he has hundreds upon hundreds of kunai and shuriken. He wore a dark gray vest, think Kakashi's vest, while he was Hokage, with the Uzumaki swirl on the back. He had medical tape wrapped around his neck. Underneath the vest was a standard long-sleeved black shirt and black fingerless gloves. He put on the mask he made using the creation of all things technique and utilizing the yin release to materialize it, and made it out of his chakra, think Menma's mask from Road to Ninya movie, except instead of red coloring it had orange coloring. Kurumi told him it's the same technique that was used to make the tailed beasts. Rakudo Sennin used the yin release to make their bodies and yang release to give them life. Man, if Rakudo Sennin used this technique to make the Biju in his deathbed, he must have been terrifying. He finished up his daily ramen breakfast and activated the gravity seals he had on my legs at level 10, equivalent to 350 pounds on each leg. He left in a lightning shunshin and arrived to the academy doors. When he went inside, everyone looked at him strangely. He then realized he still had his mask on, so he took it off and put it in a seal on his arm. He just ignored the blushing faces and made his way to his seat next to Hinata. She turned to look at him with a lustful daze in her eyes. Must resist jumping and claiming him, thought Hinata. You look great, Naruto-kun, she said with a blush. Thank you, Hina-chan, Naruto replied with a smile. What's with the new look, Naruto, said Kiba with a whistle as he started walking up to him. Yeah, you actually look really good, said Ino with a small blush. Well, I'm an official shinobi now, so I thought, might as well look like one, right? Naruto replied. Of course Sakura had to come ruin the moment. Stop trying to look cool like Sasuke-kun, Naruto baka, yelled Sakura. Everyone just face-palmed. What did I ever do to her? He asked Kurumi. Maybe being annoying is just in her blood, replied Kurumi. Iruka entered the room and began to speak. Alright everyone, quiet down and head to your seats. I'm about to announce your Genin squads and your Jonin sensei, said Iruka before being cut off by Kiba. Wait, Iruka sensei, where is Mizuki sensei? He said before a few people nodded in agreement. Iruka glanced over to Naruto before he began speaking. Well, he was sick and couldn't make it. Everyone just nodded before Iruka began to list off the teams. Going to skip teams 1 to 6. Team 7 is Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha, and Hinata Hyuga with their sensei Kakashi Hatake, said Iruka. Naruto just smirked as he thought, it worked. Hinata thought, I'm in a team with Naruto-kun, I couldn't have been more happier. At least he isn't with that bitch Sakura, she thought happily but with a venom-laced voice when she thought about Sakura. Hinata is strong and smart, so she won't hold me back, at least I hope she doesn't. And Naruto. Naruto isn't all that bad actually, but soon shook that thought off and he continued. From what I saw yesterday, he's strong. But he hides it. I must get him to teach me how to do what he did yesterday, thought the Uchiha. What? Why does Hinata-tem get to be with Sasuke-kun? Not fair, I should be with him, yelled Sakura. Suddenly the room dropped several degrees and everyone started sweating as they looked at the source. It was Naruto glaring daggers at Sakura. If looks could kill, Sakura would have been dead 10 times over. What did you say about Hinata? I could tolerate insults towards me. But I will not tolerate when you insult one of my precious people. Understood, said Naruto with venom coated on every word he said. She just nodded nervously. Good, he finished before the temperature returned back to normal before everyone looked at him with the same thought on their mind. Well, that was scary. Iruka regained his composure before he began speaking. Well, to answer your question, the reason they're in a squad is because Sasuke got Rookie of the Year, Hinata got Kunoichi and Most Promising Student of the Year, while Naruto got Dead Last of the Year. This team was assigned because the 2 top students will push the Dead Last to do better. Wait, Iruka-sensei, how did Naruto get Dead Last of the Year if he wiped the floor with Sasuke in the exam yesterday? Sasuke scowled and glared at him when he said that. Well, Naruto, on every test we've taken since the academy started he's gotten just enough to pass. On the exams too he just barely passed the written test and Shuriken Jutsu test, replied Iruka. Everyone looked at the blonde confused, they could have sworn Naruto was smarter than that. But Shikamaru narrowed his eyes at him. Bare minimum. He's always sleeping in class, and when he isn't he's usually talking to Hinata and not paying attention. Did he do it on purpose? Troublesome blondes, he thought with a sigh. Alright, continuing with the teams, Team 8 is Kiba Inuzuka, Sakura Haruno, and Shino Abarame with your sensei Kurenai Yuhi. Team 9 is still in rotation from last year, Team 10 is Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara, and Choji Akamichi with your sensei Asuma Sarutobi. Now please wait here for your sensei and good luck, finished Iruka as he left. 3 hours later. Where the hell is our sensei? Sasuke said angrily. I'm not sure, maybe he got lost on the road of life, replied Naruto before they heard the door open and in walked a guy with gray gravity-defying hair, a face mask covering half his face and standard Jonin attire. Hi, are you guys Team 7? When they nodded so he continued. Meet me on the room top, he said before vanishing in a poof of smoke. The squad just looked at each other and shrugged, then Naruto spoke up. Here guys, grab onto me, Naruto said as he put out his hand towards the two so they can grab it. Sasuke looked at him then looked away and said no before walked out. He just looked at Hinata and shrugged his shoulders and grabbed her hand then left to the rooftop via Shushin. When they arrived Hinata began to feel dizzy and started stumbling. Don't worry Hina-chan, you'll eventually get used to that, said Naruto as he put my hand on her shoulder to support her. Kakashi, who was leaning on the rail reading a small orange book, noticed they arrived and looked at them and said, that's not a jutsu most genin should know how to use. Yeah, but I'm not like most genin, Naruto replied with a foxy grin. Yeah, of course you're not, that's to be expected of Minato-sensei's kid, thought Kakashi. A few minutes passed and Sasuke arrived through the front door and saw Naruto and Hinata sitting on a step talking. How are you guys already here? Asked Sasuke. Well, I told you to hold on to me but you didn't want to, so I just left with Shunshin with Hina-chan, replied Naruto before Kakashi started talking. Alright, since you're all here why don't you tell me about yourself, things like your name, your likes, dislikes, dreams and stuff like that. Bluey, you go first, said Kakashi as he pointed at Hinata. My name is Hinata Hyuga, my likes are cinnamon rolls, my friends, she looked at Naruto and blushed before continuing, and training my clan's taijutsu. My dislikes are people who insult my friends, perverts, and judgmental people. My dreams for the future are to become a kunoichi my family would be proud of and eventually start a family of my own, she finished while her blush got deeper and she glanced at Naruto. Now you emo, said Kakashi while pointing at Sasuke, then he scowled. My name is Sasuke Uchiha, my likes. I don't like anything. My dislikes. I dislike a lot of things. My dreams. I have one dream. And that is to kill my brother and avenge my clan. Everyone's sweat dropped. That's to be expected, though Kakashi grimly. Now you blondie. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, my likes. I like ramen. My dislikes. I don't like it when people insult my friends. Dreams. Well, I had a dream that I was eating a giant bowl of ramen last night, said Naruto, then it was everyone else's turn to sweat drop. Very well. Tomorrow meet me at training ground 7 at 7, so we can take the actual test. Wait, what do you mean Kakashi-sensei? I thought we already took the test, asked Hinata. The academy test, yes, but not my test, and I recommend not eating breakfast tomorrow. That is if you don't want to taste it 2 times, said Kakashi with an eye smile before leaving in a poof of smoke. Well, I'll see you guys tomorrow, take care Hina, said Naruto. Bye Naruto-kun, said Hinata, then Naruto disappeared in a blur. Next day at 7, Naruto woke up and saw the time. Oh geez, it's time. Well, he seemed like a laid-back guy. The first, don't think he would mind if I was 15 or so minutes late. I thought as I started changing. When I finished my ramen I left via Shunshin. When I got there I saw Hinata leaning on a tree and Sasuke glaring at a grasshopper. Hi Hina-chan, said the blonde. You're late Dobi, said Sasuke when he looked up from the grasshopper. I had to eat something, I wasn't about to come on an empty stomach, said Naruto. Kakashi-sensei said not to eat. No, He said, I recommend you don't eat. He never said it was an order, and if I do end up tasting it twice, then oh well, said Naruto as he sat next to Hinata before he continued speaking. Talking about Kakashi-sensei, where is he? I don't know, he said before starting to brood. Hi Naruto-kun, what do you think the test is about? Spoke up Hinata. No idea, I'm as clueless as everyone here, replied Naruto. The two continued to speak while Sasuke glared at Hinata and Naruto at times. 3 hours later Kakashi arrived in a poof of smoke and saw Hinata and Naruto asleep on the tree bark and Sasuke was brooding. You're late, said Sasuke while gritting his teeth in anger. Naruto started to wake up and Hinata followed. I'm sorry, an old lady was crossing the street so I helped her and escorted her home just to he shore, replied Kakashi with an eye smile. They sweat dropped at his response. Anyways Kakashi-sensei, what is this test about? Asked Naruto. See these 2 bells, he said while signaling to the part of his pants that had 2 bells attached to it. You have to get them before the timer goes off. You have 2 hours, he said as he pulled out a timer seemingly out of thin air as he set it on a stump. The test starts when I say go. Go. The 3 genin jumped away, Hinata followed Naruto and Sasuke jumped to another spot. Hey Naruto-kun, what should we do? First let's look for Sasuke and regroup so we can come up with a plan, replied Naruto. Okay. They both jumped away to look for Sasuke and eventually they found him. Hey Sasuke, we need to come up with a plan, said Naruto appearing behind him. This surprised Sasuke and he gave put a very unmanly, eep. Naruto and Hinata had to hold back a snort. Sasuke looked at them red-faced, whether if from anger or embarrassment is unknown. What do you want, Dobi? He said, trying to but failing to hide his anger. I know what you're thinking and it's a bad idea. He's a jonin, he'll wipe the floor with you. I don't care if you think you're an elite. We have to work together and come up with a plan to get the bells. Sasuke looked a bit shocked since Naruto read him and his plan easily. Alright Dobi, let's say your plan works and we get the bells. There's only 2 bells, one of us is going to fail, said Sasuke. Naruto had to resist the urge to facepalm. Sasuke, tell me, when have you ever heard of a 2-man cell? This is designed to have us go against each other. This is a test of teamwork, but don't worry, if we get the bells I'll give them to you guys. Sasuke and Hinata nodded, trusting him since he had a point. Okay, so here's the plan, began the blonde. With Kakashi. What's taking them so long? Wondered Kakashi while reading his pervert book when he heard shuriken coming towards him, so he instinctively jumped back. You're going to have to do more than that if you plan to take these bells, Naruto, said Kakashi as Naruto jumped off the tree he was on. I know, Kakashi. Iruka told me to not underestimate Naruto, that he's smarter than he lets on, he thought, thinking back to when teams were assigned. Flashback. Kakashi and all the Jonins were getting the information on his team when Iruka said something interesting. Lord Hokage, I noticed something interesting when reviewing the tests throughout the academy and the final exam. He got the bare minimum passing score for the Shuriken Jutsu and written exam. But in the Taijutsu test he beat Sasuke Uchiha with ease. I believe Naruto is hiding his abilities. He made a water dragon out without any water source nearby when Sasuke launched a fireball at him. The only other person who's been able to do that is the Nadaime Hokage. Not only that, but he only used 1 seal to cast it. Everyone in the room looked shocked. Alright, thanks for that information, Iruka. Kakashi, I want you to test the boy and see if what he said is correct. Hi. Flashback end. Naruto pulled out a kunai out of his pack, then put on his mask. What's the mask for? Asked Kakashi. Not really sure, just for aesthetics, honesty, but I might add some seals, replied Naruto. Kakashi's eyes widened for a second. He knows Fuinjutsu. But his thoughts were cut off when Naruto rushed him at shocking speeds with a kunai in hand. This alerted Kakashi and he put away his book and pulled out his kunai to block it. When the kunais crashed, Kakashi was surprised at his strength. He jumped back and thought. Iruka is right, I can't underestimate him. I was hoping I wouldn't have to use this. Kakashi pulled up his headband revealing his Sharingan. Naruto smirked, so you're finally getting serious, Sharingan no Kakashi. Meanwhile Sasuke in a tree nearby saw this and nearly fall off. What? How does he might have clans Kekkei Genkei? Thought angrily. Naruto made a single-handed ram sign. Sweeten. Suiryuden no Jutsu, water release. Water dragon jutsu, thought the blonde. A water dragon materialized out of thin air and hovered. Raiden. Jibashi, lightning release. Electromagnetic murder, thought Naruto as he sent a surge of lightning towards the water. The water started glowing blue and electricity was surging through the dragon. Kakashi's eyes widened at the combination. Holy crap, what the hell is that? I definitely can't get hit by that, he thought as the dragon shot at him quickly. Kakashi made a big jump back to avoid the small AoE damage it does. When he heard a volley of shuriken and kunai coming at him from 3 directions, forcing him to go the other way. A trap, damn it, he thought as he heard a voice as his eyes widened in realization. Gentle fist art. 8 trigrams 34 palms. Shit, I totally forgot about the other ones, he cursed in his mind, but it was too late. 2 palms. 4 palms. 8 palms. 16 palms. 32 palms. Kakashi fell down due to having his tenketsu closed off. Naruto jumped to where they were and took the bells. How did you do it? He said, still finding it quite hard to believe he got bested by genins. Naruto spoke it was a quite simple strategy if I'm going to be honest. Basically after we left we regrouped and planned a strategy to take you on, since it's unrealistic for a genin to take on a jonin one-on-one and get the bells, so I assumed we would have worked together. So the plan was that while you were busy with me, Sasuke set traps all throughout the area and we would push towards Hinata's direction until you were in her range so she can close off your tenketsu. And once she did that we'll take the bells. Kakashi, still being unable to cope with the fact that he lost, had a depressed aura around him, saying something about students being too smart for their own good before he regained his composure, kind of. So what will you do now that you have the bells? Naruto just looked at the bells, then at his teammates, and gave one to Hinata and tossed the other to Sasuke. Kakashi looked at this scene with a smile. Very well, you all pass with flying colors, he said with an eye smile. Well, it pained half why. It seems you understood the test. Yes, the goal of the test is to see if you wouldn't get over that fact that there are only 2 bells and work together to get them. Caring about only yourself in a mission can prove to be fatal. Those who break the rules are scum, but those who abandon their friends are worse than scum, said Kakashi before continuing. Naruto, I have a question. You showed tremendous skill, but you got dead last in the academy. Why were you hiding your skill? In response, Naruto just smirked before he began speaking. Well, a little birdie told me that there's a genin squad where there is the dead last, the most promising kunoichi and rookie of the year. So when I started the academy I decided to become the dead last to get a strong team. Kakashi looked at him in shock. Minato-sensei, your child really is something else, thought the Cyclops. Sasuke and Hinata looked at the blonde in a new light. So Naruto-kun is actually really smart, thought Hinata with a small proud smile. HMPH, so the Dobi fooled everyone including me, not that I'll ever admit it, thought Sasuke before another thought reached his head. Wait, Kakashi-sensei, how do you have the Sharingan if you're not an Uchiha? Asked Sasuke. It was a dying gift from a friend, he said with a hint of sadness in his voice. Nobody decided to continue the topic, so Hinata changed it. Kakashi-sensei, you should be able to stand up in about 2 hours, I tried to not hit you too hard, said Hinata. It's okay Hinata, alright, tomorrow we're meeting here at 9 to start missions, replied Kakashi. Everyone nodded and began to walk off before Naruto spoke up. So you guys wanna go get ramen? Sure Naruto-kun, replied Hinata with a blush. Calm down Hinata, it's not a date. Not yet at least. The thought as her blush grew deeper, thinking about a date with Naruto. Sasuke just looked away. HMPH, I don't want to go, but I'll go, only because that plan wasn't all too shabby and we passed thanks to your plan. Naruto just chuckled. The trio walked off, failing to hear Kakashi asking for help. At Ichiraku Ramen. As they arrived to the booth, Naruto sat down. Hey Kyuki Jiji, 8 bowls of miso ramen. An elderly man came out alongside a girl with brown hair who didn't seem much older than them. What would you guys be having? He asked as he looked at his team. Same as Naruto-kun, but only 1 bowl, said Hinata. Ayame immediately got a wide grin and nudged Hinata and whispered. So Naruto-kun is it, she said as her smile got wider. I can't say it's a bad catch, especially with that new wardrobe change, she continued, wiggling her eyebrows as Hinata got an atomic blush. Alright Yame-chan, stop teasing Hina-chan, you're gonna make her faint from embarrassment, said the blonde before continuing. What would you have, Sasuke? 2 miso ramen for me, he replied. Right on it, said the old man. Their food eventually came and they started eating and talking, and to the team's surprise Sasuke was also talking and not brooding the whole time. Where the hell is Kakashi? This meeting was supposed to start 30 minutes ago, said an impatient Hokage. It's Kakashi, what were you expecting, said Asuma with a chuckle. A door flew open showing a battered, panting Kakashi. What happened with you? Asked Asuma. Kakashi just said one word that caused everyone's eyebrows to raise. Genin. Nobody was able to comment on it. Then Hiruzen started talking. Alright, now that you're all here, give me the results. Team 10 passed. The new generation Ino Shikacho could use some work, especially Ino, she still has fangirl tendencies we need to work on, said Asuma. Team 8 passed, they mostly did well, but Sakura was the weak link. She didn't do anything to help, and the entire time she was complaining about not being in a squad with Sasuke. How did someone like her pass? She is a prime example of the reasons kunoichi are often looked down upon, Kurenai said with a frown. Team 7 passed IR, but was cut off. Well, that's a new one. Kakashi usually never passes a team. Yeah, I assume the Uchiha was the cause, although he doesn't seem like much, said Kurenai. Asuma just snorted in response. I'm pretty sure the Uchiha wasn't the cause. Anyways, Kakashi continue, I'm curious to see how Naruto-kun did. Everyone else raised an eyebrow but weren't able to comment on it because Kakashi started speaking. Well, it seems that Iruka was correct that Naruto is hiding his strength. Immediately when the test started, he gathered up the squad and figured out the point of the test. Naruto attacked me and made a water dragon out of thin air with a single seal like Iruka said he could, but the next part is the terrifying part, he added lightning to it, making it stronger. I of course had to dodge it, but he kept on attacking me, forcing me to move. I ran into some traps that forced me to move into a clearing where Hinata was waiting for me, ready to close off my Tenketsu with her Juken. It was all a plan formulated by Naruto. He would pressure me into moving in a specific direction, and to make sure I didn't stray away from the path he was making for me, he made Sasuke set up traps, and once they had me where they wanted, Hinata would finish it, said Kakashi. To say everyone was shocked was the understatement of the decade. Everyone except Asuma couldn't believe it. How? He's barely out of the academy, and graduated as dead last, asked Kurenai. Yes, but that's not all. When I asked him why he was hiding his skill, he told me because of how squads are formed. The Rookie of the Year, Most Promising Kunoichi of the Year and the Dead Last made a squad. And when the academy started, he made sure to get the bare minimum score to pass through the years in order to get dead last to ensure he got a good squad. Everyone again was shocked. That's really genius actually, said a random Jonin. It was Asuma's turn to talk. Yeah, the kid's knowledge is nothing to scoff at. Even at 8 years old, he managed to learn how to apply wind chakra to a blade in just 2 days, and in 5 days he improved upon it. He also soaked up every wind jutsu I threw at him. The kid is a literal genius, just like his father. He finished with a chuckle as he put a cigarette in his mouth. Wait, Asuma, you knew? Asked Kakashi. Yeah, he came to me asking if I can show him wind jutsus cause he found out there aren't much in Konoha. I was shocked because he wasn't even in the academy and he knew his affinity and nature transformation. He doesn't know one, but 2 of his nature transformations. Most academy students don't even know their affinity. That's nothing though, I think he's still hiding a great lot. Interesting kid, I must say, said Asuma. Yeah, he's a natural leader. He even got Sasuke to go eat ramen with him. If there's anyone that can get him out of that path of hatred and revenge, I'm sure it's him. Spoke Kakashi, shocking everyone that the cold aloof emo went out to eat with his squad. I also believe that Naruto can bring out the best in him. Sasuke would see him as a rival and it would push him to get better, said Kakashi as everyone nodded, understanding what he was getting at. Alright, if that's it, this meeting ended. Kakashi, stay, I need to talk to you, said the Hokage. Everyone left and eventually Hiruzen started speaking. Kakashi, I need you to keep a close eye on Naruto. Tell me, what level do you think he's at? I think he's low to mid jonin, being able to formulate a plan on the spot and holding his own against me. And we still haven't seen everything. I could tell he was holding back a great lot, replied Kakashi. Okay, thanks. Kakashi tried to figure out how strong he truly is. Hi Hokage-sama, replied Kakashi. Alright, you're dismissed, said Hiruzen. Hiruzen sighed while he looked up and thought. What monster have you created, Kushina, Minato, he thought with a chuckle. 3 weeks later. In a bright sunny day in Konoha, within the shadows a pair of piercing blue eyes could be seen in the dark, moving from shadow to shadow. Foxy at point A. Avenger at point B. Stutter at point C, N. Naruto-kun, why did you give me this name? I don't stutter that much anymore. Sorry Hina, it was either that or red face. Alright guys, pay have a lock on our target at point B. Avenger engage in 3, 2, 1. Shrieks and crashes can be heard, and out an alleyway Sasuke walked out with scratch marks on his face, grumbling something about cats from hell. I really hate this cat, we've caught it for the 15th time already. I would no cause have been counting, said Sasuke. I never said D ranks would be fun, replied Kakashi. I'd much rather a boring C rank than this bullcrap. With C ranks you still have the possibility of running into bandits, better than catching this cat, grumbled Sasuke. Yeah, but on every C rank we've done we haven't ran into anything, Sasuke, said Naruto before continuing, but I agree, I'd rather a boring uneventful C rank than this. They arrived to the Hokage office and returned the demon cat to its owner. Gigi, I'm tired of D ranks, give us another C rank, said Naruto while groaning. Naruto, stop giving the Hokage such a disrespectful name, scolded Iruka, who was standing beside him. It's okay, Iruka, said the Hokage, waving it off. Kakashi, do you believe they're ready for this mission? Asked Hiruzen. Hi Hokage-sama, they're definitely ready. In the 3 weeks Kakashi taught them the tree climbing and water walking chakra control exercises, but only to find out that Naruto had not only known them but mastered them. After they all learnt it, he found out their affinities, and Kakashi was shocked to find out Naruto had all 5. Flashback. Alright, see this that I'm holding, said Kakashi as he gestured towards 3 slips of paper he had on his other hand, which Naruto recognized as chakra paper. Crap, Kurumi, I have a feeling we're going to have to eventually tell Gigi and Kakashi about you and the Rinne Sharingan. Are you sure, Naru-kun? Yeah, Kakashi is about to find out about me having all 5 affinities, and maybe I could help train Sasuke with his Sharingan. Why are you so intent with training Sasuke though? Don't tell me you're just doing this cause of that, she finished with a chuckle. No, of course not, replied Naruto with a chuck of his own. What are the papers for? Asked Sasuke. These are chakra papers. When you pour chakra into them they'll do one of 5 things. It'll either wrinkle, get soggy, ignite into ash, split in half, or turn into dirt and crumble. If it wrinkles you have a radiant lightning release affinity. If it gets soggy you have a sweetened water release affinity. If it splits into half you have a futon wind release affinity. If it ignites and turns into ash you have a Kaden fire release affinity, and if it turns into dirt and crumbles you have a Doden earth release affinity. He handed them out. Sasuke, you go first, said Kakashi. His paper wrinkled and ignited and turned ash. Very well, I have lightning affinity too, and I know some fire techniques, and I'm sure your clan vaults have some jutsu too, said Kakashi. Naruto's eyebrow quirked up this, but no one noticed. You next, Hinata. Her paper split in half and got soggy. Very well, since Naruto has a water affinity then he could also help you with your training, she blushed imagining some training. Now your turn, Naruto. His paper formed in X-shaped lines from the corners and split into 4 pieces. One piece ignited and turned into ash. The ash started to dissolve into nothing. The second piece got soggy and continued getting soggy until it eventually dissolved. The third piece turned into dirt and began crumbling into nothingness. The fourth piece wrinkled inwards until it was a tiny ball, then the tiny ball kept on getting smaller until it blinked out of existence. Kakashi and the rest just started gaping and started at where the paper used to be with eyes as wide as saucers before Kakashi spoke up. What the? Chapter 5, Wave Part 1. The door swung open and an old-looking man with a funny-looking hat walked in. So these are the ones who are protecting me. I asked for some ninja, not some brats. The older one and the blonde one are the only ones who look reliable, said the old man before Kakashi replied. Sasuke scowled at this. Don't worry, my students are capable of handling a couple of bandits if there happens to be any, said Kakashi. HMPH, well, my name is Tazuna the Super Bridge Builder, hope you guys do a good job at protecting me. Kakashi turned to his team. Alright guys, gather your things and prepare for a 2-week-long mission. Sasuke and Hinata nodded and left with the Tazuna. Kakashi-sensei, Gigi, I need to talk with you guys, in private without any Anbu. Hiruzen just nodded and signaled for the Anbu to leave. Alright, so I'm going to be forward with this. I know about the Kyuubi, said Naruto. Kakashi and the Hokage were about to say something when Naruto interrupted them. And no, she isn't influencing me, she also told me who my parents are. Their eyes widened, then Kakashi spoke up. Wait, the Kyuubi is female? Was of course the first thing Kakashi asked. Yeah, said Naruto. And a pretty hot one at that, he followed up underneath his breath. They both sweat dropped. Anyways, that's besides the point. Who did she say your parents were? Asked Hiruzen said in a serious tone as he narrowed his eyes. Minato Namikaze, also known as the Yondaime Hokage, and Kushina Uzumaki. The Hokage just sighed and closed his eyes. I guess there is no point in hiding it anymore. Yes, your parents are Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki, but you're a smart boy Naruto, you must know why we kept it a secret. Naruto sighed. Yeah, I've read about them, they were both feared shinobi and had many enemies. If word got out that they had offspring, then there would have been countless assassination attempts. More than there already was, he said, making both older men wince slightly before Naruto continued talking. Gigi, can I have my father's inheritance? I already know who they are, and I'm strong enough to protect myself. Plus you would only be giving me my inheritance, what's supposed to be mine anyways, you don't have to let the public know if you don't want to. The Hokage sighed for the 500th time today before saying, alright, since there is no point in hiding it, when you return from your mission I'll give you the scroll your father left you. Alright, thanks Gigi. Naruto, about the Kyuubi, did you release it? Naruto glared at him. I mean her, did you release her from her seal? Asked Kakashi. No, don't get me wrong, I've been trying. Upon release she won't go ham. I can control her chakra but only a small portion because most of it is still locked, so I can't use full Biju cloak. I need a key, do you happen to know who has the key? Asked Naruto. Yes, Jiraiya has it, are you sure you can control her chakra? Replied Hiruzen. Yes, I'm sure I can do it with her help, but Jiraiya. One of the Sennin. I take it he's not in the village, right? Yes, he runs a spy network so he can't always be in Konoha. He should be back during the Chunin exams. Are you sure you want to release her? Do you trust her? How do you know she won't escape and go on a rampage? Asked the Hokage sternly. Naruto glared at him. Yes, I'm sure, she's the one that's been training me. If she was deceiving me, why would she try to get me stronger? I've been talking to her for 8 years, she was my first friend, someone I could talk to. We're really close, she's the only person who has truly been there for me. I love her, said Naruto. Both older men raised their eyebrows at the blonde's confession. Meanwhile Kurumi in his mind was ecstatic that he was openly expressing his love towards her. Naru-kun, as soon as I leave this seal I swear I'm jumping and claiming you. And have you marked me, thought the demon queen with a dark blush and perverted smile. Naruto started speaking. Another thing, the attack on the village was not her own doing, she was controlled. Controlled? By who? Asked the Hokage as he narrowed his eyes. I'm not sure, that's what I'm trying to figure out. He will pay for controlling her against her will though, said the blonde coldly. I see, I'll have Jiraiya look into it and see if she knows anything about it. Is there anything else we need to know? Asked Hiruzen. Nope, that was all. Alright, thanks for trusting us with this information Naruto, said the Hokage. No problem Gigi. Naruto, I have another question, how do you know Fuinjutsu? Asked Kakashi, unaware that he had his mother's inheritance. A while ago I came to Hokage Gigi and asked for my Ka-san's inheritance. I got it and she left me some scrolls on Fuinjutsu and the Uzumaki chakra chains, replied Naruto. Kakashi just have an understanding nod, slightly curious as to if he knew how to use the chakra chains, but decided to leave it at that. Alright, well Kakashi-sensei, Gigi, see ya, I have to leave and pack, said the blonde as he was gonna walk out the door before he stopped. Oh yeah, I almost forgot, he said as he formed a one-handed ram seal. Fuinjutsu. Release, and he walked and picked up the seal and put it in his holster. Already see ya, said the blonde, waving on his way out. The two men just looked at each other and sighed. When Naruto left the office, he left to his apartment in a swirl of flames to his house. He got home and began to pack things in his storage seal tattoo. Then he heard Kurumi talking to him. So you didn't tell them about your Rinne Sharingan? No, there is no point in telling them if I could avoid it. Having them know about you training me is enough to keep them off my back without having them question how I'm getting all this power. I was originally going to tell Kakashi so he can help me with training, but I realized no one but you can help me with Rinnegan training, and Kakashi isn't the best option to ask for help with my Sharingan training. Plus I'm sure I can keep my eyes hidden for longer. I can still use most of my abilities without activating my eyes, and even if I need to use an ability that requires my eyes, I have that mask to keep my eyes hidden. Yeah, that makes sense, and if they found out, there is no way they'll let you leave Konoha. The council will send countless Anbu to retrieve you, and say they do somehow capture you, which is very unlikely. They'll make you into a breeding stock. HMPH, as if I'll let that happen though. Naruto chuckled at that ending part before Kurumi spoke up again. Naru-kun, you're going to be near Uzushio in this trip. Do you plan on visiting the ruins and look for the vault your mother spoke about? I really want to, but I doubt Kakashi would leave me out of his sight, and leaving a clone wouldn't be the brightest idea. Another thing, Naru-kun, near the wave there is a temple that was made for me long ago. It holds the fox summoning contract. It hasn't been signed and I would love it if you were the first to sign it. I'm sure my foxies would love you too. Inside the temple are also many other scrolls and jutsus that my foxies have snatched since around the Warring States era. Try to visit it to sign the contract and possibly look for scrolls to help with your subelements and expand your jutsu arsenal. Alright, I'll try and visit it. If it's close enough, I'll make discreetly clones and send them to find the location, said Naruto. Sounds good, but don't tell Kakashi or let him find out. He'll probably have to tell the Hokage and the council might try and raid it to get what's inside. They can't get in without my permission, but still, just to be in the safe side. Also, you should get going, you were already supposed to be at the gates, she finished with a snicker. Oh crap, you're right. Naruto grabbed some bowls on instant ramen and put them in his seal before leaving in a blur. Underscore. At the Konoha's gates 3 figures can be seen, 2 male and 1 female. Where the hell is Naruto? Asked an irritated Sasuke. The Tazuna was getting annoying and smelt like beer, and Hinata didn't really talk to him, and it was awkward. But in a poof of smoke Kakashi appeared. Already guys, you ready? Asked Kakashi before he looked around and noticed a distinct mop of blonde hair was missing. Wait, where's Naruto? That's what I would want to know, said Sasuke as he crossed his arms. As if on cue, Naruto arrived in a swirl of fire. You're late. Please don't tell me Kakashi-sensei is rubbing off you, said Sasuke with a scowl. Naruto just gave a sheepish grin. Sorry, I got lost in the road of life. They just sweat dropped at his response. Yeah, Kakashi is definitely rubbing off him, was the thought shared by the other 2 genin. Meanwhile, Kakashi had a proud look on his face. However, Hinata noticed something. Wait, Naruto-kun, where are your stuff? Asked Hinata, noticing he didn't have a backpack. I'm using storage seal tattoos, replied Naruto as he lifted his sleeve to show the tattoo on his arm. Tattoos? I've never heard about that. I thought you could only seal stuff in scrolls, but even so, seal masters are rare, so they're expensive, she said. Yeah, true, but good thing I made them, replied Naruto with a smirk. Hinata looked shocked. That's amazing, Naruto-kun. I didn't know you knew Fuinjutsu. Circa. Can you possibly make a storage scroll for me? That is if you know how to make scrolls, and it's okay if you don't want to. Yeah, sure, I see no problem with that. I could make it when we arrive at the wave. Show me how to make those dobi, said Sasuke. Why should I tem? Alright, since we're all here, let's go, said Kakashi, deciding right now isn't the best time for them to argue. Naruto summoned his mask and put it on, then they all started walking out. Again with the mask dobi? Asked Sasuke. Yeah, I like how it looks. Why? Are you jealous cause you don't have one? Teased Naruto. HMPH, as if I'd want one, it makes you look like a loser. Tazuna then turned to Hinata. Are they always like this? Hinata sighed. Unfortunately, yes. Kakashi looked at his team and also sighed. This is gonna be a long trip. On the way to the wave, Hinata and Naruto started making small talk with the builder. It was mostly just him bragging about how great of a bridge builder he was. But on their path, Naruto noticed a puddle. He was sensing chakra in it, so he looked at Kakashi, who just nodded at him. Naruto started reaching into his holster, which now held a few new things. As they got closer, the shinobi hiding in the puddle jumped out and with their chains split Kakashi in half. Hinata and Tazuna looked in horror. When the two nin landed, the one with the mask they saw with the squad disappeared in a burst of speed, then appeared again next to them. He then made a rat hand sign and said, "Gravity seal level 150, active." All of a sudden, before they knew it, the two shinobi slammed into the ground by an invisible force, making a small crater where they're laying. On impact they broke a few bones, thus rendering them unable to move. Kakashi soon appeared next to them, shocking the builder and to a lesser extent Hinata, cause then she noticed the splinters where Kakashi's body was supposed to be, understanding what happened. Gozu and Maizu, the demon brothers. 2B ranked missing nin from Kiri. What are you two doing attacking a genin squad? We don't give a damn about the squad, just give us the builder and we'll be out of here, replied one of them. Kakashi narrowed his eyes at the mention of Tazuna. Sorry, can't do that. We have to protect him. Who sent you? Said Kakashi in a serious tone. As if we'll tell you, said the other one. Naruto unsealed a sword. He's been getting more practice with his kenjutsu. His mother left him some scrolls on some Uzumaki kenjutsu. He didn't have any special sword though, just a standard sword. He pointed the blade at one of them. Answer the question, said Naruto as he brought the sword closer. You're a genin, you wouldn't dare, one of them said. At this Naruto swung his sword and cut off one of their hands. Hinata and Sasuke were scared at the action and Kakashi was surprised but decided to not speak up on it. Ow, what the air, you insane kid, shrieked the one who get his hand cut off. Answer the question, said Naruto. Okay, Gato sent us to kill the bridge builder. Gato. As in Gato, the rich dude that owns a shipping company. Said Naruto. Yes, him. Naruto then chopped them behind their neck, knocking them out. Kakashi then looked at Tazuna. You have a explain to do, why do you have shinobi after you? This is supposed to be a B-ranked mission at least. Tazuna then went on to explain how Gato has been sucking this country dry by controlling their docks. He also explained that he was barely able to gather enough money for a C-ranked mission for Ninja to protect him because the bridge would end their dependence on the docks, thus ending Gato's control and help with trade in their country. Kakashi sighed, unsure what to do. This mission had the possibility of turning into an A- rank, and he wasn't sure if his team was capable of handling this, but then again they had Naruto in their team, which is practically Jonin level. I don't know, Kakashi, saving a country is tempting and would look good in my record, said Naruto. Kakashi sighed, then looked at Sasuke and Hinata. Alright, what about you two? I'll go, said Sasuke. Me too, followed up Hinata. Kakashi sighed and looked at Tazuna. When your country gets in better shape, I expect A-rank mission pay. Yes, of course. Naruto turned their attention to the two Chunin who were quietly listening to their conversation and said, I'm not, you guys would wanna see this. Why? What are you gonna do? Asked Hinata. Kill them, replied the blonde. Why? They can't harm us anymore, said Hinata. Well, 1, they have bounties on their heads, and 2, if we let them go then they'll harm other people, said Naruto as he impaled one of the nin in the heart, killing him instantly, then did the same for the other. Both Genin and Tazuna winced as he did that. Meanwhile Kakashi narrowed his eyes at the blonde. He didn't hesitate or show any remorse, thought Kakashi. You could have just sent them to Konohadoubi, said Sasuke, slightly scared at the fact that he just killed 2 people without a hint of hesitation. Yeah, but then I wouldn't get the bounty, said Naruto with a foxy grin. Anyways, let's go, we have a country to save. Kakashi just sighed. He's been finding himself sighing a lot lately. They began to walk until they eventually reached a point where they reached the edge and had to use a boat to travel to the island. When they off the boat and on the land they were walking, then Naruto threw a kunai at a bush and Kakashi and the team jumped into formation ready to fight the menace, but a white rabbit jumped out. HMPH, you're scared of rabbits, Dobi, said Sasuke with a smirk. However, Kakashi noticed something. That rabbit isn't a wild rabbit, it's white and it looks like it's been taken care of, almost as if it was used as a pet. But there is no tags. Then that means. With his Kyuubi enhanced hearing, Naruto heard something flying towards them, but before he could speak up he heard Kakashi yell. Duck. As they heard that, they all ducked and Hinata forced Tazuna to duck. When they looked up they noticed that the sword hit a tree, and in it was a giant oversized sword and on the handle was a man who wore a vest and was shitless and wore camo wrist warmers on his arms and legs. He also had tape over his mouth and his hiatus was slashed and had it on the side of his face. "Give me the builder and I might let you leave alive," spoke the man. Kakashi, who noticed who this was, lifted his headband revealing his Sharingan before he spoke up. "Zabuza Momoichi, a rank missing nin from Kiri, also known as the Demon of the Hidden Mist, what does a man like you want with this builder?" asked Kakashi even though he already knew the answer. Zabuza saw him and immediately recognized who this was and smirked. "Sharingan no Kakashi, no wonder the demon brothers lost. Why has someone like you babysitting children?" said Zabuza as he jumped off the handle and pulled his oversized sword out the tree it was stuck in and looked at the squad. "Why is he called the Demon of the Hidden Mist?" asked Hinata. Then Naruto replied. "A while back what Kiri used to do is that they pitted academy graduates against each other in death matches as the final exam. What Zabuza did is he killed all of the graduating academy students even though he was not yet a student. Because of this the academy tradition was discontinued, but it earned him the nickname, the Demon of the Hidden Mist." "That's terrible. Why would they do that?" asked Hinata. "It was to try and eradicate emotions for combat efficiency. It was a terrible practice but it worked somehow." "How do you know all this?" "We weren't taught this in the academy and even if we were you were either asleep or talking to Hinata," asked Sasuke. Hinata just blushed at this. "Well, when you've read every book in the Konoha library you tend to learn a lot of things," replied the blonde. Sasuke raised an eyebrow at this but wasn't able to respond cause Kakashi ordered. "Team, formation D around Tazuna." They all nodded and jumped to formation. "What's this? A bunch of toddlers playing ninja. When I was your age I had to kill to get one of those headbands," said Zabuza. "Leave them out of this is a battle between us," said Kakashi as he pulled out a kunai and got in a stance. Now Kakashi, what am I known for?" "Zabuza Momoichi, former member of the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist, master of the silent killing technique." "That's right," said Zabuza as he began going through hand signs and whispered. "Kurigakur no Jutsu." A thick unnatural white mist began to appear making it hard to see anything further than 3 feet in front of you. There was chakra in the mist but Naruto being a sensor can sense Zabuza since where he was the chakra was denser, normally one would not be able to sense this unless you were a sensor. "Brain," echoed a voice clearly Zabuza's, however the voice was laced with ki freezing the genin minus Naruto since this was nothing compared to Kurumi's. "Lungs, heart, liver, jugular, solar plexus, or larynx, all of them locations where I can kill you. Only difference between them is how long it'll take for you to die," said Zabuza's echoed voice. The ki being released in the showdown by both Jonin proved to be too much for Hinata and Sasuke and Tazuna, however Sasuke was faring better than Hinata, and Tazuna was knocked out unconscious on the floor. Sasuke started panicking and got a kunai from his holster, "This is insane," and started bringing the kunai towards his throat. However Naruto saw this action and stopped him. "Calm down Sasuke, he can't come after us since he's fighting Kakashi." "Yes Sasuke, don't worry I'll protect you guys," said Kakashi. A cold dark chuckle was heard as Zabuza coldly said, "Interesting kid you have there Kakashi, he seems unaffected by my killer intent, but instead of worrying about your team." All of the sudden Zabuza appeared next to him with his oversized sword. "You should worry about yourself," and swung it but Kakashi blocked his attack with a kunai. He pulled out another kunai and slashed Zabuza only for him to melt into water. A bushin. But when, and behind him appeared Zabuza only to slice Kakashi from behind but he melted into water. "You copied me huh?" said Zabuza and he sensed Kakashi behind him and sliced him only for him to melt into water again. All of the sudden real Zabuza appeared and swung his sword to hit Kakashi only for him to block it but it hit him with enough force to knock him off the bridge. While this happened Sasuke was cursing himself for being weak. "Why am I so weak? I'm an Uchiha, Uchihas aren't weak. How could I let myself freeze up?" Naruto didn't freeze up. Hell he didn't even flinch. "I'll never be able to catch up to Naruto like Tino, what am I saying? More importantly I'll never be able to defeat Itachi like this," he thought as he gritted his teeth. Back with Kakashi and Zabuza, when Kakashi fell to the water Zabuza followed suit and they continued fighting. Kakashi found it a bit harder to fight because he couldn't see due to the mist. He was relying on instincts at this point. Kakashi was fending off attacks from Zabuza, but his attention was diverted for a split second. However, this split second was all Zabuza needed when Kakashi felt the air around him get heavy with water. By the time he realized what happened, it was too late. Suiten. Suiro no Jutsu, Water Release, Water Prison Jutsu. Zabuza said as Kakashi got stuck in a ball of water, rendering him unable to move. Zabuza held out his arm to keep the jutsu active. But when he did, the mist started to dissolve and the genin could now see what was going on. "Guys, take Tazuna and leave," yelled out Kakashi. "Sorry Kakashi, no can do, those who abandon their comrades are worse than scum. I may be a lot of things and scum is not one of them," said Naruto. Kakashi inwardly cursed. Why did he have to choose right to actually pay attention to him? Zabuza laughed. "I must say Kakashi, this blonde is certainly interesting, it's a shame I'm going to have to kill him," he said as a water clone materialized from the water and jumped in front of the genin. Naruto smirked and poured a bit of chakra into his storage seal, making a sword pop out. "I'll be able to test how far along in Kenjutsu I've gotten. You're 1/10 of his strength, but the skill is there nonetheless," he said as he got in a stance. "Sasuke, Hinata, take care of Tazuna." "You wield a sword, huh?" asked real Zabuza. He was really starting to like this kid. "I try." As the clone attacked Naruto and they began their battle, Naruto made seal-less clones and sent them to battle the real Zabuza, or at least distract him enough to release the water prison and free Kakashi. Zabuza was fending off the clones fairly easy, but eventually the numbers stacked up against him and he had to let go of the jutsu to avoid getting his throat slit by a clone's kunai. "Damn this kid," thought Zabuza as he jumped back. Around this time Naruto ended his battle with the clone. He won to say the least. Even though it was 1/10 of the strength, the skill Zabuza had with the sword was still good. Naruto eventually overpowered him though. "Interesting Gaki Kakashi. First he forces me to stop the water prison, then he defeats my clone in a Kenjutsu battle. I'm impressed," said Zabuza. Naruto jumped down to where Zabuza and Kakashi were standing. "Looks like you need help here Kakashi," said Naruto. "Yeah, I'll need your help to defeat Zabuza." "Crap, I can fight one and probably still make it out alive, but this blonde Gaki with the mask is definitely strong. I think I need Haku to step in now, though the former Kiri Nin." Naruto smirked at Zabuza. "Let's dance." Naruto rushed Zabuza in a burst of speed and began to engage him in a Kenjutsu battle. Naruto attacked Zabuza with his sword and Zabuza was blocking his attacks, Naruto wanting to get another sword fight against Zabuza. Naruto had to admit, he started getting a love for battle. He wanted to see if all that training he did paid off against someone like Zabuza. Meanwhile Zabuza was silently cursing, surprised at the blonde's skill at Kenjutsu and forcing Zabuza to take the defensive. He jumped to land to make it easier for Haku to get him. As Naruto and Zabuza were in their Kenjutsu battle and Kakashi was in the sidelines waiting for an opportunity to strike. He was impressed with the blonde enigma. To be able to hold your own against one of the 7 swordsmen is definitely no easy feat. Of course Zabuza was tired from fighting Kakashi, but still. Naruto jumped back, but when he did he felt the chakra signature he sensed earlier make their way to them. Then Naruto noticed two Senbon sticking out of Zabuza's neck. A hunter nin showed up and said, "Thank you for weakening him, I've been hunting him for a few weeks now," said the nin as he took Zabuza and left. However, Naruto narrowed his eyes. The place where the hunter nin hit him isn't a lethal area, that place is meant to put him in near-death state. Plus he didn't follow regular hunter nin protocol, which is to dispose of the body as soon as possible. This definitely wasn't over. But Naruto wasn't going to follow them. He had to get their sensei to safety since he was close to passing out due to chakra exhaustion. The Sharingan must have taken a lot out of him. When they returned to the bridge, Tazuna was already awake, so he led them to his house. When they arrived they were greeted by a beautiful blue-haired lady who was Tazuna's daughter, Tsunami. She told us there are 3 spare rooms, so we took Kakashi to one. However, there was a dilemma. Sasuke for some reason absolutely refused to share a room with Naruto, but Hinata didn't want to share a room with Sasuke. Hinata offered that Naruto shared a room with her and Sasuke refused that offer too. They eventually reached a consensus and Naruto and Sasuke shared a room and Hinata got her own room. It was 4 days later and Kakashi could now move around. They began training. Both Hinata and Sasuke got water walking down, so Kakashi started teaching them nature transformations. Sasuke already knew what it was, but Hinata didn't, since Hyuga don't really use jutsus. They mostly rely on their Byakugan and Taijutsu, but decided it would be best if he taught Hinata a water jutsu or two. Naruto offered to teach her some since he was good with the element, while Kakashi taught Sasuke with lightning jutsus. The team, with the exception of Naruto, were beat and were currently chatting eating dinner when a kid walked in. Naruto noticed it was the kid who's been glaring at them since they arrived. "Why are you even trying? You're an idiot if you think you can stand up to Gato." Naruto didn't like his tone and glared at him, making the kid flinch. "Then what does that make your grandpa? Are you saying he's an idiot for trying to stand up? What have you been doing besides being a bratty little kid? How do you expect a change if you do nothing for it? Your grandpa is trying and you're just insulting his effort." The kid got angry and was practically yelling at this point, "What do you know about suffering? I'm sure over there in your village you live happy lives with your parents, you don't know what it's like to suffer." The room dropped several degrees and Naruto glared at him and spoke with a tone cold enough to freeze hell. "Shut up. You don't know what it's like to suffer. You think you've had it rough. You have your mother and your grandfather, they both love you and you've experienced the love of a parent. Hinata here was almost kidnapped and turned into a breeding stock for her bloodline, but her father killed the kidnapper. Because of this her uncle had to be killed due to political reasons and their family has been strained ever since. Kakashi-sensei here has lost everything, all his friends died in a war, his father committed suicide due cause he saved his friends instead of completing a mission, his teacher died in the Kyuubi attack 14 years ago. Sasuke here knew what it was like to have a family, but they were all killed along with all of his clan by a single man, his brother, all in one night. And I've never even known what it's like to have parents. All my life I've been hated and glared at like a walking disease due to something out of my control. There has even been assassination attempts on me, most of them happening before I even reached 10 years old. When I was 6 one of them nearly succeeded and I nearly died if it wasn't for a certain someone who saved me, not just from dying but from loneliness. Now don't you ever come and try to tell us we've never suffered. Understood?" The kid started crying and ran off upstairs. "Kakashi-sensei, I'm gonna go relieve stress. Don't come looking for me," said Naruto as he left in a swirl of fire. Is what he said true?" asked Tsunami as she was sweating from the aura the blonde kid made. "Unfortunately yes, all of it is true," replied Kakashi solemnly. "Why is Naruto hated?" asked Hinata. "I'm sorry but I can't tell you," replied Kakashi. Tsunami then said, "Please forgive him, ever since Kaiza died he hasn't been the same." Sasuke was just quiet this whole time, wondering if the Dobi's life has really been like that. Naruto arrived to a clearing in the forest and punched a tree in rage, breaking it in half. "Calm down Narukoi, don't let it get to you," said Kurumi worryingly. "Yeah you're right, tch how can I lose my cool over something like this," said the blonde as he took deep breaths. "He just pushed the wrong buttons, that's all. Anyways this kind of worked out for the better. Kakashi isn't here to see you so you can make clones and send them out to search for the temple. I'll lead them to it since it's hidden. Once they reach the location I'll let them know they can dispel. Then you can go there using your Kamui." "Alright, I'll just practice leaf floating." Naruto eventually got bored of this and made a few clones to continue floating the leaf. What it was he had to channel wind chakra around the leaf to make it float and move around. It was basically an advanced form of chakra control, but he can also use it to manipulate things. He was currently trying to move the leaf around but it was pretty difficult. In theory this can be used to make him float around. When he laid down he just entered his mindscape, which has changed a bit. It now had a few trees and a lake, and besides a lake was a cottage with a small porch where Kurumi lived. Wasn't anything impressive but it's better than living in a sewer. "Hello Narukoi," said Kurumi as she clomped him and kissed him as soon as he entered his mindscape. "You know Narukoi, these little speeches of yours about me are starting to excite me," she said seductively. "Well once I get you out this seal and you can materialize outside I'll tend to that," replied Naruto as he began scratching her ears. Also, do you have a way to hide these tails and ears? Don't get me wrong you look gorgeous with them but I doubt Konoha would appreciate a girl with fox ears and 9 tails walking besides the demon brat." "Yeah of course I do. I can also turn into a smaller size but I'll only have like 2 tails of power in that size, but I could still help you with combat in that form." What can you do in your fox form?" I can use a mini Bijudama, but that's about it ability-wise, while of course fast and strong. When you release me you'll still have your fast healing and massive stamina blush and you'll be able to access your Biju cloak. Interesting, when I get home I'll get my father's inheritance. Hopefully he left me instructions for the Hirishin and or the Rasengan, the two jutsus he's famous for. So what's your plan? When are you going to leave? My original plan was to leave after the Chunin exams, but I'll have to see because Jiraiya is the one with the Kisa. I need to stay and get him to give it to me. Naruto stayed in his mindscape waiting until the clones find the location or until it's morning. Chapter 6, Wave Part 2. Haku was currently walking through the forest searching for herbs so she can heal her master Zabuza. He underestimated the masked blonde in his battle and he did a number on him. She couldn't interfere with their battle on Zabuza's orders, but that blonde kid was certainly something. To be able to go toe-to-toe with Zabuza-sama is impressive. Even if she didn't get a good look at his face, she found herself attracted to the blonde, but she must rid herself of such thoughts. Tools aren't allowed to have feelings. She will eventually have to kill him because he poses a threat to Zabuza-sama. As she was picking up herbs she eventually got to a clearing and she noticed a familiar mop of blonde hair lying on the floor. Naruto was in his mindscape when in the outside world he sensed a chakra signature he's felt before. He brought himself to consciousness but didn't open his eyes cause it would reveal he is now awake. It's him. He's the boy that fought Zabuza-sama. Though Haku as she neared the boy she began to notice his features. He was attractive, to say the least. She saw his whiskers and the urge to feel them was practically yelling at her face. As she stared at him an unfamiliar heat began rising on her cheeks. No, he's a threat to Zabuza-sama. I must use this as an opportunity to eliminate him. Forgive me. You know it's not very nice to stare at someone while they're sleeping. They would think you were ogling at them, whispered a voice to her ear behind her. She gave a very girly eep and jumped away. She felt like her entire face was burning. She began to reach for her basket to get the senbon she had. She only brought 5 senbon and enough water to make 5 more ice senbon. However, when she reached in she felt 3 blades on her neck. She didn't dare turn. They're clones, they will kill you if you give me an answer I don't like to the questions I have, said Naruto. Crap, how did I let myself get caught, cursed Haku. How did you get behind me? I sensed you coming so I created 4 clones, 1 took my place, the other 3 were in case I needed to engage you in combat. The clones and I hid and waited for you to get closer, and when you did I snuck up on you. When you jumped away, I used the 3 other clones to trap you. Haku's eyes widened. He's really dangerous, to come up with a plan like that on the spot. While Haku was in her thoughts, Naruto took that as an opportunity to soak in her appearance. She was pretty, her skin was pale and her hair fell down and she had 2 locks going down the side and framing her face. Her eyes were brown. She wore a pink kimono and had a choker on her neck. So tell me, Hunter Nin, why is such a pretty girl like you working for someone like Zabuza? Asked Naruto in a flirtatious tone. Hunter Nin. What is he tall? Oh. How did you know I was the Hunter Nin? Asked Haku with her guard up, but the blush on her face wasn't helping. Your chakra is the same as the Hunter Nin. I also know that you were hiding in the trees throughout the battle. However, I wasn't sure if you were an actual Hunter Nin or not, but when you hit him you didn't hit a lethal area and didn't kill him on the spot. That was enough proof for me to know you were his accomplice. Now answer me, why is someone like you working for Zabuza? It was a genuine question. Her chakra didn't have a hint of evil in it, something not expected for someone working for Zabuza. She widened her eyes. I fight for him because Zabuza-sama is my master. I am his tool. He found me when I was young and he taught me everything I know, so I fight for him. Naruto raised an eyebrow at this. What's your name? Why? Asks Haku, but then she felt the blades get closer. Haku. Yuki Haku. Naruto widened his eyes. The Yuki clan were Hyoten ice-released users. As far as Naruto knew they were wiped out in the Kiri bloodline purges. I thought the Yuki clan was wiped out, asked the blonde. I am the last of my clan, she said sadly. You too, huh? She looked at him and was about to ask him about it, but Naruto started speaking. You're from the Yuki clan, so I take it you know how to use Hyoten. Yes, I do. Naruto just smirked and brought his hand up and made an ice senbon. Haku's eyes widened. Are you from the Yuki clan? She asked in a hopeful tone. She couldn't believe it, she thought her clan was wiped out. I'm sorry to disappoint but no, however I do want you to train me with how to use Hyoten. I can only create Senbon, Jutsu scrolls on subelements are rare. Why would I train you? We're enemies, asked Haku. Naruto walked up to her and placed his finger under her chin and lifted up slightly and brought his face up to hers. Their faces were now inches away, then he whispered. Because I will give you a prize if you will, he said as he brought his face closer. Haku's face started burning, and she can feel her nether regions starting to feel funny. Something about this boy was making her crazy, whether it was his appearance or aura she didn't know. But what she did know is that he is powerful, she dares even say more powerful than Zabuza. The aura he is releasing is something else. What would my prize be? She asked, slightly panting. Naruto turned around and walked away to her disappointment. A slight whimper left her mouth as he walked away. Naruto noticed it and smirked. He also noticed the new scent coming off her. It was a scent he recognized. Hinata is always giving off that scent when she's around Naruto. Tell me, do you hate Gato? Asked the blonde. Slightly taken back from the random question she just replied, yes, I do. Why? What would you say if I told you I would help you and Zabuza kill Gato and raid his base? I assume you're only working for Gato for the money. Yes we are, but why would you do this? Well, for one, I've developed an interest in you. 2, I hate backstabbers and I know Gato is going to backstab you guys. And 3, Gato is rich, I can take his company and get the money. If money is what you want, then I'll help with that. She blushed when he said he had an interest in her. How do you know he's going to backstab us? A little birdie overheard Gato saying something about letting the ninja weaken Zabuza, then he'll attack them, kill Zabuza and take the girl as a toy. And I'm not sure if I'd want my new little friend to be turned into a toy, he said as he walked up to her and caressed her cheek. She felt herself getting hot and slightly moaned at his touch. How do you know all of this? Let's just say I have eyes in places. Those eyes helped me find Gato's base. If you want, we can go have fun and ransack the place and kill Gato and take his money. The offer was very tempting. All of her senses were screaming at her, obey the boy in front of her. Oh, okay, I'll tell Zabuza-sama what you said. Naruto began to caress her cheek again and brought his hand to her sides and started caressing it sensually. Thank you Haku-chan, meet me here in 2 days at 10 with your response. He leaned down and brought his mouth close to her ear and whispered, and if I don't like your response then I might have to punish you, finished the blonde as he disappeared in a blur along with the clones. She fell down to her knees and began panting. She was sweating and it felt like something was burning in her nether regions. She's never felt anything like this before. He's barely been gone for a few minutes and she already missed his presence. It was intoxicating. She quickly recomposed herself and began to gather herbs for Zabuza's medicine. However, a certain blonde never left her mind. Naruto, you truly are evil, said Kurumi with a laugh. I don't know what you're talking about, Kuru-chan, said Naruto innocently. You almost made her orgasm with that, she replied with a full-blown laugh. I did what I had to do. I don't know about you, but having a few Uzumaki Hyoten users is a very tempting offer. I was lucky she is the submissive type. If she wasn't, this might have ended very differently, replied Naruto. Well, I can't disagree with you on that, but either way, with the aura you were giving off, any girl no matter who would become submissive. Who would have thought that all those seduction books would turn out to be helpful, she said with a giggle. Naruto chuckled. I'll make great use of them anyways. My clones found the location. I wasn't expecting this little run-in with Haku-chan, but I can't say I'm disappointed. However, we have to hurry and get there and sign the contract before Kakashi-sensei starts getting suspicious. Right, say Haku and Zabuza join you. What are you planning on doing after that? You have to return to Konoha. I might try and bring Haku-chan with me to Konoha and have her be a civilian, so when we leave she won't become a missing nin and can leave. However, her Hyoten ice release might cause problems. They might try and make her a breeding stock. Unless she